The higher-ups of the factory sect started to shake. The higher-ups of the factory sect started to shake. This was because Long Fei's record was extremely shocking. At the same time, the people in the plaza were also extremely shocked. Everyone watched as Long Fei walked down, step by step, as they looked up, as if they were all looking at a god. At this moment, in their eyes, Long Fei was an existence that was akin to a god. Boss is so cool. I can't help but fall in love with him. Tandapeo's face was filled with excitement. Watching Long Fei walk down the heaven stairway step by step, he felt that Long Fei had become an incomparably tall man. Dazzling people don't give up their lives. This man was like the only bright star in the night sky, forever radiating with light. No one could stop him. Su Su suddenly smashed his fist on Tandapeo's head and said, "Damn, so many women are fighting with me for my man, but you, a man, are actually snatching it from me? You're courting death." Lan Mei pursed his lips into a smile and said, "Sesame, look at those girls around us. Their eyes are shining, like a pack of hungry females. We really need to watch them a little more closely. If not, who knows how many women he will have by his side." Su Su shook his body, hands on his waist, then said loudly, "All of you little demonists, listen up. He is my man. If anyone dares to touch my hands, I will chop them off." Very domineering, very social. At this moment, Prince of God's eagle shrank his head, gloomily wanting to hide into the crowd. However, Long Fei walked down the sky stairway and said softly, "Prince of God's eagle, where are you going?" Prince of God's eagle paused. Revealing a fawning face, he said, "Big brother, congratulations. You're too awesome. I have never seen anyone stronger than you." Several elders also walked up. There wasn't a trace of contempt and disdain on their faces. Their faces were full of respect, as though a grandson meeting his grandfather. They knew in their hearts that after today, Long Fei would be the same as them, one on the sky, one on the ground. As long as Long Fei said a few words above, they would not be able to finish their meal. If he didn't curry favor with them at this time, how could he possibly curry favor with them? "Congratulations. You look extraordinary to me. Congratulations. This year's top scholar is none other than you. You are now the #1 person in Factory Sect. Awesome. I told you long ago that you would definitely be able to break the record and make history." The few clan elders flattered him consecutively, as if they wanted to lick Long Fei's shoes. Long Fei laughed blandly. "It's also because the elders looked down on me and aroused the fighting spirit in my heart. In the end, I really have to thank all of you and everyone present. I'm so sorry to disappoint everyone. Good face? It doesn't exist. Are you mocking me? Do you think I'm giving you face? What the hell?" Long Fei's words were just like a few slaps to the face. The elders' faces were a little ugly, but their faces were still respectful, and their bodies were slightly bent, not daring to straighten out, because they no longer had any cards left. Long Fei was destined to become the focus of the Factory Sect's training, so they could only look up to him. He didn't dare to offend him. The Prince of God's eagle said fiercely, "Yes, yes, yes, we are wrong. We look down on people with our dog eyes. There are a lot of tall and powerful people like you. We will definitely not argue with you, right?" He was completely impotent now. Even if he was related to the Factory Sect, even if some of the people in the Heavenly Eagle Empire were disciples of the Factory Sect, they couldn't compare to the person who broke the young sect master's record. His current identity could not even compare to Long Fei's. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "You're right. A tall and powerful person like me will not quarrel with them, but as for you, I will definitely care about it. Now you've lost. Get ready to eat your own shit. This is the first time I've seen you like special people and like to eat your own sh*t." Long Fei grinned. Prince of God's eagle's face sank and said, "Brat, don't be too greedy. I've already given in. What more do you want? I'm the prince of the Heavenly Eagle Empire. You cannot afford to offend me." Long Fei grinned. "I'm so sorry. I've never placed the Heavenly Eagle Empire in my eyes. If you don't eat your own sh*t today, you really won't be able to leave." Prince of God's eagle's body trembled slightly, and he immediately asked, "What do you want?" This is the Fatry sect. Do you dare to make a move? Long Fei laughed. Do I even need to fight against you? And then, an elder beside Long Fei said, Clan Elder, you have seen the bet just now. Do you think he should keep his promise? The elder was excited and immediately replied, Of course. Prince, do you want to shit now? Prince of God's Eagle's eyes were trembling as he said, I have no sh asterisk t to pull. I don't have sh asterisk t. The elder directly said, Men, beat the shit out of his intestines and stuff it into his mouth. As soon as he finished speaking, the 4 Fatry sect disciples rushed out, and before Prince of God's Eagle could resist, they smashed his fist into their stomachs, causing them to roll in their stomachs, and the poop mixture immediately burst out. Following which, he grabbed the feces on his butt and stuffed it into his mouth. Prince of God's Eagle's face was pale. He wanted to resist, but he was powerless in front of the 4 disciples. That scene, it was unbearable to look at. Long Fei walked in front of Prince of God's Eagle and said, Don't act so arrogantly in front of me, otherwise this daddy will toy you to death. It was extremely disdainful. Prince of God's Eagle couldn't even speak as he continued to nauseous and in an extremely sorry state. Tan DePeo laughed. Isn't that great? What dog's it, Prince? You can't even be considered an ant in front of my lord. Long Fei returned to Su Su and the other side. Yang Jin looked at Long Fei strangely. Long Fei said, Don't look at me with that kind of expression. I'm not gay. Tindapeo also shouted, Gold fur. Even if boss is to be the foundation, it won't be your turn. I'll be the first one to go. Yang Jin gave a cheap smile and said, Boss Long, how did you do that? Long Fei said, Just like that. Yang Jin said, This year's top scholar is none other than you. To be able to directly enter the holy abyss ruins to cultivate, I wonder who you will be studying under. Each of the 8 peaks of immortal destiny had a different specialty, just like the various departments in the university. Regarding this matter, Long Fei had really not considered this. However, there was no need for him to think about it. Someone had already decided on his behalf. Horcrux's Hill, Xiang Halian's courtyard. The door was tightly shut. Xiang Halian bowed and stood behind a man. The man was none other than young sect master Zhou Yuan. Zhou Yuan said coldly, I don't like that brat, so I don't want him to live in this world. Xiang Halian was secretly delighted and immediately said, I know what to do. Zhou Yuan replied, Don't worry, I will get father to pass that brat to you. Failing the examination, drag it out. Failing the examination, drag it out. When the last ranker was dragged down the ladder question of God, the new disciple exam of Fatry sect came to an end. He would pass the examination if he took 100 steps. However, there weren't many who could make it up to 100 steps, only 1,000 or so people out of the tens of thousands of people. Furthermore, most of the people were stuck between 1 and 200 steps. Only a very small number of people could break through 1,000. However, compared to before, this year's results were not considered bad. Moreover, Long Fei's result had broken all the records, and he had used less than half the time compared to the historical records. Just this point was enough to shock the entire Fatry sect. The disciples that passed the examination, follow me to enter the Saints Hill Plaza. All of you will receive the appropriate rewards. Furthermore, there will also be elders that will come to pick you all. When the elders choose you, do your best to show your talent and your own will. The rest is up to you. An elder said seriously. Another elder walked up to Long Fei with a respectful gaze and said, Those who have reached the 1,000 steps can enter the Saint's Temple and will be received by the sect master himself. Also, you will be selected by the Fatry sect, and similarly, you will have to display your talent and willingness. The Fatry sect is divided into 8 peaks: the Sword Peak, the Wu's Peak, the Powder Peak, the Peak Zhun, the Beast Hill, the Fu Feng, and the Saints Hill that you will all be going to later. I hope all of you will choose carefully. A martial artist who could break through 1,000 steps was ranked in the top 100. There were special rewards. Furthermore, the sect master had personally received them, and the elders of the heavenly sage realm from the elder of Inner House were selecting them as disciples. This was an opportunity for them to rise to the heavens in a single step. The elder looked at Long Fei, made an inviting gesture, and said, "You are the top scholar, and right now, you will lead them to Saints Hill." Right now, everyone around was respectful to Long Fei. He didn't dare to have any disrespect. The current Long Fei was an existence they could not afford to offend. Long Fei walked forward, raised his head and looked at the immortal peak above him, and thought to himself, "We have finally arrived." He remembered that the elder swordsman had specially instructed him to enter the Fatry sect. Now that he had successfully entered, who knows where the elder swordsman might be? Still in the East Imperial City? Or did he bring Shao Bai and fire and ice to another place to cultivate? There must be a special reason why he wanted me to enter the Fatry sect. Which peak should I choose now? Long Fei muttered in his heart. He didn't think about which peak he would choose. "Let's go up first." Long Fei said softly, "Let's go." Under his lead, the 1,000 disciples walked towards the Saint's Hill. Saint's Temple. The elders of the 8 peaks were gathered together. These people were all the top existences in the Fatry sect. Any one of the elders was an existence of the god's holy state. In just half an hour, this kid's talent is probably beyond my imagination. I must make him my last disciple. Not even after 10,000 years. Latter question of God is one of the 10 great treasures of our Fatry sect. It tests the human heart and the various enticements we encounter in the martial arts training. Not to mention him, even we are unable to pass through it in such a short period of time. This guy is definitely not simple. Young sect master's talent is already very frightening. If another monstrous genius were to appear, our Fatry sect would definitely become even more powerful. In the Primordial 8 territory, our western regions is the weakest. We don't even have a single sovereign realm powerhouse. This time, we might be able to produce a sovereign powerhouse. Don't be too happy too early. You all forgot one important point, and that is, where did he come from? He is someone who came from the East Imperial City in the Wasteland. Have you all forgotten about the matter of him searching for flowers all those years ago? Until now, he was still in the royal realm and could not even break through to the emperor realm. Who knows? Yes, the exam is a bit more fierce, but what about the average talent? The hall suddenly became silent. Obviously, they were a little afraid of what happened with Yuan Tianwang back then. No one seemed to be mocked. If he accepted a trash as his disciple, he would truly be mocked for the rest of his life. Just like Yuan Tianwang's master right now, he would not even dare to raise his head due to the laughter. This was related to his reputation. At his age, his reputation was extremely important. East Imperial City, the place where criminals were once imprisoned. That place is also known as the place of exile. Although it has evolved into a city now, in all these years, there hasn't been a single emperor strongman there. The land of trash is not empty either. It seems like we need to think more, and this year's new talents all came from the East Imperial City. So let's not talk about the top genius, the third-place female Lan Mei, the one who cultivated the secret technique Su Su, and the one who uses willpower to rush up to the launcher. These people are all here. From East Imperial City. Perhaps. What about the East Imperial City's salvation? I don't care. I want whoever's the top scholar. Don't give it all to me, even if I'm mocked by others. I'm also willing. At this moment, the crazy wolf grinned and said, "All of you shut up. That brat is mine. I've said it like that. If anyone wants to fight with me, don't blame me for being impolite." Amongst the 8 peaks, the crazy wolf was the only one with a peak owner, because he felt that Long Fei was a born beast trainer. Even the roar of sky touching was scared of him. How could he let such a genius go? All of the elders shuddered. They were well aware of the temper of Crazy Wolf. Offending him, at that time, their mounts might suddenly mutate or even turn around and attack. This sort of thing had happened before. Although he was not the only beast trainer, he controlled most of the fairy beast in the Immortal Destiny Peak, and his beast control ability was extremely powerful. He was someone he could not afford to offend. The crazy wolf looked at the crowd and fell silent. Then she smiled and said, "If you all give him to me today, each and every one of you here is one. I, Crazy Wolf, will owe you all a favor." Everyone's eyes lit up. Peak owner's favors could not be measured with money. Everyone was shocked. At this moment, Xiang Halian said faintly, "Owner of Beast Hill, your favors are indeed precious, but compared to a genius disciple, I will still choose the latter. I can only offend you." The crazy wolf stared at him. "Damn, you're not giving me any face?" Xiang Halian said, "I'm so sorry." Xiang Halian, do you want to never have a mount again? Crazy Wolf's eyeballs seemed like they were about to pop out. Xiang Halian smiled slightly. It was also at this time. An elder standing outside the hall said, "Elders, the sovereign is here." Mr. Celestial, Zhou Daoren, walked into the palace. There were two other people behind him. One of them was young sect master Zhou Yuan. The other was the immortal destiny holy maiden Xin Yuan Li heir, who was dressed in a white dress. When the Mr. Celestial sat down, he lightly said, "Call them in." Breaking the factory sex record, Zhou Daoren wanted to see what kind of person they were. Breaking the factory sex record, Zhou Daoren wanted to see what kind of person they were. Moreover, the one who set the record was his son, yet he broke his son's record. This made it even more important for him to get to know him better. When he knew that Zhou Yuan's record had been broken and had only used half of the time, other than shock, there was also a trace of displeasure in his heart. Latter question of God, one of the 10 great treasures, understood that it would be extremely difficult to pass through it. To be able to break through the latter question of God in half an hour, such a person would either be a peerless genius amongst geniuses, with the potential to become a great genius capable of breaking through the sovereign realm. Or, there was another possibility, cheating. Latter question of God was a divine treasure that created illusions of desire within one's heart. However, if these illusions were all broken, it would be unable to test the human heart. 1,000 disciples stopped in the plaza outside the saint's temple. The top 100 disciples walked into the hall. Long Fei was at the forefront. The moment he walked into the great hall, Long Fei felt countless gazes sweeping over him instantaneously, like many instruments scanning him crazily. God's elephant state? He actually won the top scholar at such a level. Isn't this realm too low? Crazy Wolf was one of the few people in the hall who did not care about Long Fei's rank and laughed. "Brat, we meet again, haha." Long Fei smiled and replied politely. The person who was the most shocked in the hall was none other than Xin Yuan Li heir, who was standing to the left of the Mr. Celestial. Her heart trembled slightly as she muttered to herself, "How can it be him?" Mr. Celestial looked at Long Fei, his gaze filled with an unimaginable power. It could be said, without giving Long Fei time to react, the power instantly surged into Long Fei's body. At this moment, Long Fei stood in front of him as if he was naked. This kind of feeling made him feel a little uncomfortable, but he could not resist because any elder here could crush him like an ant. Even Long Fei would be hard to deal with in front of the Emperor Strongman, let alone the super powerhouse of the gods' holy state. Moreover, seated on the high seat was Zhou Daoren, sect master of Factory Sect. His cultivation had even broken through the gods' holy state. Overlord level. As long as the idea slightly moved while he was still in Long Fei's body, perhaps Long Fei would not be able to survive. He felt displeased. However, he could only hold it in because of his strength. Because of the level, Long Fei subconsciously clenched his fists. Zhou Daoren could instantly feel the unwillingness in Long Fei's heart. The idea withdrew slightly and said indifferently, "You don't seem to be happy." Long Fei did not try to hide it and said, "If you were to be sensed by a group of people using idea S as if you were naked while standing here, you would also be unhappy." Zhou Daoren was startled, then laughed. "This is because we are curious about you and also want to know everything about your potential, talent, and blood vein." Long Fei said, "Curiosity cannot infringe upon one's privacy, right?" Zhou Daoren said, "You're right. I apologize for what I did." Large was shocked. The sect master actually apologized to a newbie. All the rookies in the hall were secretly surprised, but at the same time, they admired him even more. Zhou Yuan suddenly said, "Father, why must you apologize to such a person?" His eyes looked at Long Fei and said, Aren't you just a newcomer top scholar? What was there to be proud of? How dare you speak to the sect master like that? Are you not taking yourself seriously? Xinyuan Lier said softly. By doing this, sect master can more clearly see sect master's broad-mindedness and will cause even more people to respect and admire him. She was speaking up for Long Fei. Zhou Yuan's gaze darkened slightly, and he became even more unhappy. Our factory sect has been established for thousands of years, but there has never been a newbie who dares to speak to the sect master like that. To put it nicely, he's just acting recklessly. Indeed, he doesn't put the factory sect in his eyes at all. Someone who thinks he doesn't know the limits of the heavens doesn't have the qualifications to enter the factory sect. A big SH Asterisk T-bowl was directly on Long Fei's head. He still held on tightly, not giving Long Fei the slightest chance to defend himself. Tandapeo was displeased. Why are you so reckless? How could he not put the factory sect in his eyes? Isn't it making a big fuss over nothing? And this senior brother, my lord has no place to offend you, right? From the very start, you've been targeting us. Did my boss only use half of his time to break your record? Records are just for breaking. If my boss hadn't given me face, not to mention half the time, I'm afraid 10 minutes would have been enough. Was not happy when there was someone who wanted to take revenge on him. He didn't care who the other party was. He was going to say it out of annoyance. Zhou Yuan's face sank, laughed coldly, and said, Aim at him? Is he qualified for me to target him? God's elephant state, an existence akin to trash. What qualifications does this kind of scum have for me to target it? In my eyes, he's not even comparable to a bug. His eyes were filled with disdain. Zhou Daoren coughed lightly. Su Su was also in a bad mood, and said, Someone that can't even compare to a smelly bug has already broken your record, and can even crush you to death. After saying that, he didn't forget to sneer. Lan Mei said, The person who broke your record is trash. Then wouldn't you be worse than trash? A verbal battle. If it was a battle, then Zhou Yuan had already pierced through 100 holes. They are. No one could ever say that Long Fei was not like that. No matter who the other party was, as long as they were unhappy, they would take it on. Zhou Yuan's face became even uglier. Xinyuan Lier also said slightly, Senior brother, pay attention to your words. Hearing Xinyuan Lier's words, Zhou Yuan became even more furious in his heart, and said solemnly, If the god's elephant state is not trash, then what is? Trash. Can you take 3 of my moves? If you can take 3 of my moves, that would prove that you're not trash. Long Fei laughed and said, Why do I need to receive 3 moves from you? Do I need to prove anything? If I'm a piece of trash, then everyone that's doing. Long Fei did not finish his words. He had to hold it in. Zhou Yuan laughed and said, You coward, if you don't dare, then just say it directly. It's just you. Cough, cough. Zhou Daoren let out a heavy cough and immediately suppressed his voice. He then laughed and did not let Zhou Yuan continue speaking, and said, All right, stop chatting. Now please introduce yourself. This is something every top scholar has done over the years. Long Fei did not hesitate. He stepped forward and cupped his fists, saying, My surname is Long. My name is Fei. I do not come from East Imperial City, but from the lower realms. Without waiting for Long Fei to finish, Xinyuan Lier was startled. He couldn't even stand steadily and said with excitement, What did you say your name was? He had been waiting all his life. He had been waiting all his life. From a moment she flew into the universal realm, she had been waiting. 100 years of waiting, 100 years of guarding, it was all for meeting again. She thought that she would never see Long Fei again. She often thought she had given up. After entering the meditation peak, he focused on cultivating the Tranquil Heart Sutra to calm down his heart. When she heard the 2 words Long Fei, her calm heart immediately rippled. She knew that she never forgot. He always remembered the man who had sacrificed for him. Xinyuan Lier suddenly interrupted Long Fei, causing everyone in the hall to look at her. Zhou Yuan was also startled. His eyes stared straight at Xinyuan Lier without moving. In the entire saint's temple, The most nervous person was not Zhou Yuan nor the surrounding elders, but rather Mr. Celestial. He knew a few things about Xianyuan Lier. He knew she was waiting for someone. She was interrupted in such a panicked manner just now. Could it be that the brat in front of her was the one she was waiting for? If that was the case, then their agreement would be void, and Zhou Yuan would not be able to pass his devil tribulation. Zhou Doran's pupils contracted, as though he was staring at his prey. Long Fei was also slightly taken aback. Su Su muttered and said, "Did you do something to her? Have you provoked one?" Long Fei shrugged his shoulders and said, "No, I've only met her once. I don't even know her." Xianyuan Lier did not care about the look in Zhou Doran's and the surrounding elders' eyes. With an excited expression, he asked once again, "What are you called?" Long Fei said, "Long Fei, what's wrong?" Xianyuan Lier asked, "Is it the Long Fei who is flying dragons in the sky?" Long Fei paused for a moment, then said, "That's right, Puchi." Xianyuan Lier suddenly burst into tears. Seeing Long Fei's uncontrollable tears flowing out, the entire hall panicked. The saintess of immortal destiny, of the meditation peak, and she's even the young sect master's fiancée, someone that the Mr. Celestial values the most. I've never cried, but he was already on the verge of tears. Isn't this too unbelievable? Immediately, Zhou Yuan clenched his teeth tightly, and his figure moved. Buzz. His eyes turned sinister as he stared at Long Fei and said loudly, "I don't care who you are, but if you make sisterly cry, then you will die." While he was speaking, the pressure of the god's holy state pounced on him like a ferocious beast. A palm struck towards Long Fei's chest. His speed was extremely fast. This time, Zhou Daoran did not stop him, but instead revealed a secretly happy expression. If Long Fei was hacked to death with just one palm from Zhou Yuan, then there would be nothing else. He didn't have to worry about that anymore. However, right at this moment, the crazy wolf moved. The beast's might was like a mountain, directly blocking Zhou Yuan's pressure, straightened its body, and landed in front of Long Fei with a heavy sound. Beast armor. Buzz. A substantial aura of a tortoise-shell armor landed on his body and took the palm strike head-on. Rumble. Saint's temple shook violently. Zhou Yuan retreated half a step. "You dare block me?" The body of the crazy wolf was also faintly rolling as it said, "Young sect master, it would be better if you could clarify what you have to say." Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart. In that instant, he almost couldn't react in time. If it wasn't the crazy wolf, he would either be severely injured, or he was already dead. Zhang Xian's heart tightened. His heart was filled with dissatisfaction. His belief in becoming stronger became even more resolute. Xianyuan Lier also immediately ran down and said, "Senior brother, you can't kill him." Zhou Yuan clenched his fists so hard that they creaked loudly. Streaks of blood began to appear in his eyes. Zhou Doran's expression shook and immediately shouted out, "Yuaner, don't be reckless." A strand of power from his body surged into Zhou Yuan's body. With a heavy press of the Overlord's strength, the devil will within Zhou Yuan's body was suppressed. He could feel that the devil in Zhou Yuan's heart was growing stronger. Tandapeo quickly walked to the left and right side of Long Fei. Susu took a few steps back. This was a tactic. A wet nurse must ensure her own safety in order to nurse others. Long Fei replied heavily, "What do you mean?" Xianyuan Lier no longer bothered with Zhou Yuan. Instead, he walked in front of Long Fei and directly grabbed on a Long Fei's hand in front of everyone, saying, "Big brother Long Fei, you don't recognize me anymore? I'm Xianyuan Lier. It's the Xianyuan nationality's Lier. Don't you know me from the God's Tower?" His face was clear. Furthermore, it was a pity that the flowers were tinged with rain. Seeing them made one's heart ache. However, Long Fei's memory really did not exist in Long Fei's mind. There were no scenes at all, and furthermore, in this kind of situation, even if he really knew Xianyuan Lier, he would not recognize him. Once he admitted it, he would die. Xianyuan Lier would die. And Tandapeo, Susu Lanmei, who was by his side, would also die. Long Fei did not dare think too much into it, and could not think too much either. He immediately pulled out his hands and said, I think you recognize the wrong person. I really do not know who you are. Xinyuan Lier did not stop there, and said, I flew into the universal realm, and have waited for 100 years for you. Do you really not recognize me? Big brother Long Fei, take a good look. I am Long Fei took a small step back, and said, You are really mistaken. There are many people of the same surname in the world, and the one who I flew in was the Zhenwu continent. Looking at Xinyuan Lier, Long Fei thought of Fu Xishan, thought of Queen of Blood Moon, thought of Xiao Bai, thought of Ice and Fire. He believed it. He recognized Xinyuan Lier, but it was within his seal's memories. He couldn't admit it, because he could already feel the killing intent from Zhou Daoren. Susu walked forward and said, I already said that I don't know him. Could it be that you're relying on him? Although he is handsome, cold, arrogant, domineering, and has the charisma to make a woman unable to walk away without giving her a look, please behave yourself. There are a lot of people watching here. Xinyuan Lier did not give up and said, Big brother Long Fei, do you really not remember me at all? Long Fei said, I really don't know you. If I knew you, I would have recognized you in the dark magic forest, don't you think? Zhou Daoren said softly, Long Fei, you really don't know her? She is from the lower planes like you. Why don't you think about it? Long Fei replied, Master Mr. Celestial, there's no need to think about it. I really do not know him. If I did, would I not have any memories? As Long Fei was speaking, Zhou Daoren's idea moved. She was monitoring Long Fei like a liar. I'm not lying. Zhou Daoren's heart relaxed slightly as he looked at Xinyuan Lier and said, What he said is right. There are many people in this world who share the same surname and name, so you should have recognized the wrong person. Xinyuan Lier looked at Long Fei seriously. Indeed, Long Fei's change. It was completely different from before. However, her intuition told her that the Long Fei in front of her was the Long Fei she was waiting for. She couldn't be wrong. A woman's intuition. A woman's intuition. Sixth sense. Xinyuan Lier had already determined that the Long Fei in front of her was the Long Fei she was going to wait for, but Long Fei not knowing her made her heart ache slightly. Pain began to spread from her heart. 2 streams of tears flowed from his eyes as he mumbled, Am I really mistaken? Long Fei said, I'm really sorry. Looking at the tears on Xinyuan Lier's face, Long Fei's heart also started to ache inexplicably, as if he should not have let the girl in front of him cry. However, at a time like this was all he could do. Otherwise, not to mention the extremely furious Zhou Yuan, the murderous Zhou Daoren, if Long Fei admitted to it, there would only be one consequences. Die. After a long time, Xinyuan Lier calmed himself down and slowly walked back to Zhou Daoren's side. With a calm expression, he said, I probably recognized the wrong person. She wasn't stupid. Because she was too excited, she became so. Now that she had calmed down, she had thought of many things in her heart. The killing intent on Zhou Daoren's body loosened slightly. With a light smile, he said, Holy Maiden, don't worry. My Fatri sect will do everything in our power to find the person you're waiting for, if you can't find it within the time limit. Xinyuan Lier raised his eyes slightly, looked at Long Fei, and said indifferently, Mr. Celestial, I will keep my promise. Zhou Daoren laughed. That's good. As the aura around his body loosened, many of the elders in the hall relaxed slightly as well. In that instant, everyone felt as if Mr. Celestial was about to make his move. After all, the Holy Maiden was his son's fiancée. If the Holy Maiden acknowledged Long Fei in front of him, he would really be looked down upon. Fortunately, the Holy Maiden had recognized the wrong person. Otherwise, it would have been awkward. Zhou Daoren regained his composure, looked at Long Fei, and said, I didn't expect that the person who ascended from the lower planes to the universal realm must have suffered a lot, right? Long Fei said, Pursuing the strongest is the goal of everyone in the martial arts training. Any kind of suffering will only make me more determined. Well said. Zhou Daoren nodded his head to praise him and said, Pursuing the strongest is the goal of every single person in the martial arts training. What you said is too good. There is no end to the path of the martial arts training, and any further suffering will only make our heart firmer. I believe it. Long Fei, I think very highly of you. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Daoren said slightly, this year's top scholar's reward is actually a single time of cultivation in the holy Abyss ruins. For the disciples of the Fatri sect, this is an extremely rare cultivation journey. Holy Abyss ruins was a secret world. It was also because of the discovery by the ancestors of the Fatri sect that this secret world was able to create the Fatri sect in the immortal Abyss mountain range. In the legends, Holy Abyss ruins was a place for the immortals to cultivate. Long Fei said, "Thank you, Lord Mr. Celestial." Zhou Daoren smiled faintly and said, "This is what you deserve. I hope that you can continue on the road to the martial arts training S in the future." All right, I won't say anything else. Now is the time for you to choose. Fatri sect is one of the 7 great peaks. Choose one. The 7 peaks was a large part of the Fatri sect. Every peak had its own specialties. Sword Peak trained in the sword. Wu's Peak practiced martial arts. Powder Peak, alchemy. Long Fei didn't know what to choose, and he also didn't think about what to choose. However, without waiting for him to choose, Xiang Halian from the Horcruxes Hill walked out and said, "Mr. Celestial, do you still remember what you promised me?" Zhou Daoren was startled, then laughed out loud. "Elder Xiang, don't tell me you had taken a fancy to him since a long time ago." Xiang Halian nodded. "I knew him when I was in Dark Magic Forest, and I didn't go too far away. As expected, he didn't disappoint me." Long Fei's eyes turned cold. Tandapeo, Su, Lan Mei's expression changed as well. Tandapeo could not endure it any longer, but his eyes indicated for him not to move. They were well aware that Xiang Halian was Zhang Tianfeng's master. Moreover, since Xiang Halian was an elder of the Horcruxes Hill, then it also made sense why Zhang Tianfeng had always wanted to obtain the refining fire on Long Fei's body. The crazy wolf immediately stepped forward and said, "That won't do. Other people can, this kid can't. He is the top scholar. He has the right to choose. And also, if you had said that you had taken a fancy to him in the Dark Magic Forest, then I had already taken my eyes on him during the first stage of the examination. Is a natural-born beast trainer." "Oh." Zhou Daoren trembled slightly, looked at Long Fei, and said, "You can still control beasts?" The crazy wolf did not wait for Long Fei to speak, and said, "Of course not." With that, he gave Long Fei a meaningful look. Long Fei could only say, "Just a little." At this moment, the elder from Sword Peak also stood out and said, "I am not sure about Beastmaster School, but I am clear about one thing. His weapon is a sword. Just that point should be coming to our Sword Peak." "Damn, your Sword Peak has so many disciples every year. Have you ever thought about how my Wu's Peak feels? Little brat, come to my Powder Peak and make as many pills as you want." "Yao Lao Gui, do you really need to do this?" "If you say that." "Kid, I use the talisman in the Fu Foam as you please." All of a sudden, the entire hall was in an uproar. At this moment, Zhou Yuan said blandly, "Let me remind everyone that he not only comes from the lower plains, he also comes from the East Imperial City S of this trash land. In the entire Fatri sect, there's only one East Imperial City. You should know what kind of person he is now, right?" Zhou Yuan's bite of the word piece of trash ground was especially harsh. The expressions of the numerous elders also changed slightly. Many voices disappeared, no longer fiercely fighting. The crazy wolf said, "I do not care where he came from, since I have taken a fancy to him. Even if he is not the top scholar, I have also taken a fancy to him. Mr. Celestial, my Beast Hill has never asked you for anyone, not to mention the top 10 disciples. I have not asked for anyone for all these years." "Me," Xiang Halian immediately said. "Mr. Celestial, you were the one who gave me the promise in front of so many people back then." Zhou Yuan also said, "Father, this matter is known throughout the entire Fatri sect. If you break your promise, I am afraid many people outside will laugh at you." The crazy wolf said, "In any case, we are still disciples of the Fatri sect. How can we go back on our words?" "Ha ha! Zhou Daoren smiled faintly and said, Crazy Wolf, the elder Xiang that I promised first. Other than this brat, everyone else can choose, right? At this time, Xinyuan Li'er said faintly, Lord Mr. Celestial, the top scholar also has his own choice. Why not ask him? Zhou Daoren looked at Long Fei and said, Long Fei, where do you want to go? Without waiting for Long Fei to speak, Zhou Yuan continued, I heard that he is now the pavilion master of the Xianwu Pavilion. His specialty is artifact forging, so he should naturally be the Horcrux's hill. Zhou Daoren immediately followed. Since that's the case, then follow me to the Horcrux's hill. I believe that the Horcrux's hill is more suitable for your development. Long Fei did not refuse and said, All right. It wasn't that he didn't want to refuse, but he couldn't. It wasn't that he didn't want to refuse, but he couldn't. No matter how he chose, he would end up in Xiang Halian's hands in the end. From their conversation with Zhou Yuan, it wasn't hard to tell that they had intentionally arranged for Long Fei to go to the Horcrux's hill. Obviously, Zhou Yuan must have said something to Xiang Halian. As for the Horcrux's hill, it had also become an extremely dangerous place. Long Fei was not afraid of danger. Since they had deliberately made such a plan, he might as well do it. I don't know what will happen in the end. Seeing that Long Fei had agreed, the corner of Zhou Yuan's mouth curled into a complacent smile. Xiang Halian also revealed a hint of pride. His fist could not help but secretly clench, and thought in his heart, Finally, it's about to land in my hands. Tindapeo's eyes became anxious. Su and Lan Mei immediately walked forward, grabbed Long Fei's arms, and gently shook them, signaling for him not to agree. However, Long Fei only smiled slightly. There were some things that could not be avoided. Xiang Halian was like a mad dog who was about to bite him. The best way to make the dog let go of its mouth was kill him. If he couldn't avoid it, then he would go for it. Following that, the top 10 disciples were divided up one after another. Lan Mei went to the Sword Peak. Su went to the Peak Zhun. Tandapeo was a little miserable. His result was ranked around 30, but he was the last to be taken away. The reason was simple. Launcher. It was a profession that could not be mixed up in Universal Realm. On the surface, Tandapeo did not seem to mind, but his heart was secretly tight. A short pause. Each of them led their disciples back. Long Fei also followed behind Xiang Halian. Walking out of the main hall, the crazy wolf was a little unwilling and said, Long Fei, in the future, when you have time, come and play with my Beast Hill. Xiang Halian said, Owner of Beast Hill, you don't have to worry about my disciple. Go back and properly raise your fairy beast. While they were talking, Xiang Halian then summoned a fairy beast and said to Long Fei, Let's go. He sat on the fairy beast. Long Fei politely smiled at the crazy wolf. Xiang Halian also jumped up. The crazy wolf moved. The fairy beast went berserk. Its huge body suddenly shot into the sky and flipped. Xiang Halian almost fell down. Long Fei was also very shocked. Owner of Beast Hill, Xiang Halian said in a heavy voice. The crazy wolf laughed. What are you so proud of? Do you believe that I will immediately make your fairy beast betray? Long Fei was secretly shocked. This beast tamer is too powerful. Idea could make a fairy beast go berserk. This factory sect is really a hidden dragon and crouching tiger. I wonder what is the purpose of this elder swordsman letting me into the factory sect. Sigh, I still don't know where the elder swordsman is. Long Fei muttered in his heart. When the fairy beast entered the clouds, it was like a world of immortals. Xiang Halian stood on top of the fairy beast's head with his hands behind his back, like a fairy. Seated on the back of the fairy beast, Long Fei looked at Xiang Halian's back and lightly said, Elder Xiang, don't hold it in. The corner of Xiang Halian's mouth rose as he turned around to look at Long Fei. You should call me Master now. Long Fei asked. Master? I am truly sorry, but I do not have the habit of taking in disciples, so don't hide things from me anymore. You are Zhang Tianfeng's master, and also an elder of the Horcrux's Hill. He didn't want to be long-winded. He went straight to the point. Xiang Halian stroked his beard and laughed faintly, saying, Haha, direct and straightforward. Since you're so straightforward, then I won't waste any more words. As long as you hand over the God's Design token, I can let you go. Listen up. I'm giving you a life. Releasing and sparing were two different things. The meaning was deeper. As expected, Long Fei was secretly shocked and said, "How do you know it's a God's Design token?" Long Fei had never mentioned this to anyone. Logically speaking, Xiang Halian should not know. Xiang Halian smiled faintly and said, "Rainbow refining fire. This kind of refining fire is exceptionally special. With your artifact forging abilities, even if you had an outstanding talent, it would be impossible for you to cultivate this kind of refining fire at your age." Long Fei said, "Even if it isn't mine, then how do you know it's from a God's Design token?" Xiang Halian said, "It's very simple because your Xian Wu Pavilion's Pavilion Master is Horcrux's Hill's peak owner. Do you really think that God's Design Addict's Assessment Factory sect will be given to a small weapon store? Do you think the Xian Wu Pavilion is competent?" Long Fei was secretly shocked and said, "Horcrux's Hill's peak owner is Grand Court? Then he's..." Xiang Halian said indifferently, "Don't worry, he hasn't come back since then. I've already told the outside world that the peak owner has gone on a search for a breakthrough. If he doesn't appear after a few years, no one will question him. Peak owner has brought you to participate in the God's Design Addict's assessment, but no one came back, including the people from God's Design Addict who died in the seal. Only you came back, so the refining fire that appeared in your body definitely came from a God's Design token. And with your refining ability, it's impossible for you to win the test. There's only one answer. You stole the God's Design token from the God's Design Addict clan elder, and that is not important. The important thing is, if you give me the God's Design token, you will live well." His eyes turned cold. He looked like he was about to eat Long Fei. He did not believe that Long Fei had passed the God's Design Addict's examination. The God's Design Addict's assessment could be said to be one of the hardest assessments in the entire universal realm. In the 9 realms of the Grand Mist realm, there are only 9 people who pass the examination every year at most. This level of difficulty was unprecedented. It wasn't even this difficult to become an outer disciple of the God's tribe. It was impossible for Long Fei to pass. Long Fei didn't ask too much and said, "What if I don't give it to you?" Xiang Halian said, "Several people will die every day in Fatry sect. Even the top scholar may die. You are a smart person. I believe you will make an intelligent choice." As soon as he finished speaking, the aura from Xiang Halian's body faintly moved. At the same time, the fairy beast's flying speed increased, and its height rose as well. Long Fei only had God's elephant state. If he jumped down from such a high altitude, he would only be smashed into meat paste. Xiang Halian said, "I'll tell you one more thing. I want the refining fire, but there are people who want your life. As long as you hand over the refining fire and leave the Fatry sect, I believe that with your talent, you'll be able to live a good life." "Kid, hand over the God's Design token." Long Fei said, "I am truly sorry. The God's Design token are very important to me. I cannot give it to you." Xiang Halian's forehead turned sinister as he said, "You refuse a toast only to be punished?" Long Fei smiled and said, "I don't like any kind of alcohol." Xiang Halian's eyes turned sinister as he said, "You really make me angry. I originally wanted to give you a way out, but you refused to appreciate my kindness. How can you do this? Then die." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiang Halian suddenly attacked. His hands moved. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Long Fei's entire body was covered in illusions. He moved incredibly quickly, as though he was being pounced on by a huge net. Long Fei moved between his brows. His body suddenly shot out, straight into the sky. Power of creation. There was no other choice. There was no other choice. It was impossible to hand over the God's Design token. Once the God's Design token is handed over, it would be impossible to rebuild the Sword of the Sky. Moreover, the Sky Sword Spirit had saved him, and he must repay this kindness back. Even if he handed over the God's Design token, Xiang Halian would not let him off. He had clearly said just now that someone from the Fatry sect wanted him dead, and Long Fei could even think of that person with his toes. Zhou Yuan. He didn't have any memories of Xianyuan Li'er in his mind, but his intuition told him that Xianyuan Li'er was extremely important to Zhou Daoren. It wasn't just his fiancée. Thinking about what the dark magic forest ancient deviltry had said, the sword intent Zhou Yuan cultivated was not the divine way, but the demonic way. Then he would be unable to guess that if Zhou Yuan wanted to purify the devil heart in his body, he would need the power from Xianyuan Li'er's body. I don't know. And Long Fei's appearance had messed up their chance. Thus, Long Fei must die. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If someone offends me, then I'm sorry. Long Fei was the kind of person who would not hesitate to sacrifice something, just like how he would instantly release his strongest big move, Destiny Beat, when he faced Chaos Lord, and this time was no exception. He was not Xiang Halian's match. He was completely unable to handle the cultivation of the god's holy state. The same goes for Xinchalong's sword. The only power in his body that could kill the powerhouse was the power of attack. Without the slightest hesitation, with a move of the idea, it directly used the power of creation. Immediately, Long Fei's body seemed as though it was going to explode. The clouds in all directions rolled and swirled around him, and before long, a huge energy whirlpool appeared on Long Fei's body. Xiang Halian frowned. What is that power? Fear grew in his heart. He had never seen this kind of power before. It was like a power that was above the world, a power that had never appeared in the universal realm. Long Fei grinned and said, I will take your life's power. Kill. Xiang Halian's eyes turned sinister as he said solemnly, You dog, you think too much of yourself. You are just a mere god's elephant state. No matter how strong you are, you can't escape from your original body. Fairy beast, roar. The fairy beast roared. Xiang Halian brandished his sword. The sword image covered the sky. Facing the force of the vortex, Long Fei slashed heavily and shouted out, Die. Long Fei said, The one who died was you. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The sky exploded, and the two forces clashed. Not even half a second later, a gigantic vortex of energy engulfed both and fairy beast. Not only that, the entire world was shaking. It was as if the sky was going to split open. Unstoppable. The entire western regions trembled slightly. The universal realm also began to emit huge undulations. God Tribe Shrine. Emperor Xian opened his eyes slightly. His gaze was sinister as usual. This fluctuation of power, the power of creation, impossible. It's impossible for the power of creation to appear in the universal realm. Even the ancient world would find it difficult to reproduce the power of creation. Could it be that I made a mistake? At this moment, an elder quickly entered the Emperor Xian palace and anxiously said, The energy wave came from the universal realm's western regions. The Emperor Xian said slightly, Send someone to investigate and check carefully for me to see who released this power. We must find it for me. This power is not too strong. This person's cultivation must not be that high. It should be inside some young man's body. Let Grand Court Ling Tian handle this matter. The old man quickly said, Understood. Power of creation? Somewhere. A plane that was like a dead planet. A lady wearing a veil looked at the distant universal realm. The power of destiny has appeared. Looks like God's tribe is not far from its demise. I have to go back too. The veil fluttered, revealing a peerless face. Just as the lady was about to take a step forward, a black shadow landed and said, Madam, the young lord has not been found yet. If you go back now, God's tribe will only be suspicious. I can't wait. The woman's eyes flashed. The black shadow said, You can't wait, so you have to wait. God's tribe is too powerful now, even if you go back and find the young master, but do you think that when you return to the God's tribe, the first thing you will do is not to find you? When you appear, the God's tribe will become even more suspicious. We couldn't find it, and the God's tribe also couldn't find it. It's still safe. Don't worry. We will definitely find the young master before the God's tribe. The woman stopped. Her eyes were somewhat moist as she muttered, Xiao Fei, Mother really misses you too much. Dragon Abyss Dungeon. Long Zhanting laughed out wildly. Long Wutian. Did you sense it? Power of creation. The power of creation appeared in the universal realm. Ha! This is the first power of creation nurtured in ancient world. Do you know what this means? This means that the God's tribe is about to reach its end. You're still a dog for the God's tribe, huh? He was excited, laughing wildly. He did not know who had released this force of creation, but this was a signal. It should be a turning point, an opportunity that was enough to make God's tribe tremble. Oh, rumble, 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 ancient world in the primal chaos. The seven God's tribes towered in the sky, as though they were the sky that supported the ancient world. Suddenly, a heaven pillar began to crack, as if the world was collapsing. Sword light shot up into the sky. Billions of sword chi burst out from the heaven pillar, flashing. It was like 10,000 stars. Boom! The heaven pillar collapsed, and a beautiful figure flew out from within the heaven pillar. Sword Force King Kong. Oya! He was dressed in fine clothing and held a thin long sword in his hand. A vortex of sword currents swirled around him, as if he was carrying a world of sword intent with him. Aoya hugged her hands and said, "Everyone, I will be leaving first." As soon as he finished speaking, Aoya's figure moved. The sword flow on her body transformed into a stream of air, directly pulling her body away and disappearing in an instant. "Sister-in-law, don't go so fast. I still have something to say to boss." Eldest sister-in-law, Aya, leaving in such a hurry. Tianling, don't worry, you're almost there. Let's all put some oil in. When the time comes, we'll all go back to boss. At that time, I want to see who can touch boss's hair. Lousy will be the first to beat him back into the womb. Don't talk. Make the best use of your time to cultivate. Zone connecting to the western regions. A half-naked man with muscles as hard as steel kicked a big bald man, his entire body emitting an incomparably domineering aura. He looked into the distance, sensing the explosion of the power of destiny just now. He laughed innocently in excitement. "Boss, you are indeed in western regions. I'm coming. Wait for me." Xiang Helian and his fairy beast were sucked into the energy whirlpool together, and like a meat grinder, they instantly turned into fine powder. Xiang Helian and his fairy beast were sucked into the energy whirlpool together, and like a meat grinder, they instantly turned into fine powder. 2 system notifications sounded out. Nothing good dropped. However, long phase level increased again. Level 9, Celestial Phenomenon Realm. Huff. It's still too low. Long phase breakthrough speed could be said to be extremely fast, and the advantages of the game system were vividly displayed. It was still not enough for his current situation. Even if it was the outer sect disciples of Fatri Sect S, they were still stronger than him, let alone the inner sect disciples. Adding on the heavenly sacred border powerhouse of the Fatri Sect S, long phase level was too low in front of them. If he did not have special power, the Emperor Realm powerhouse would be able to easily crush him. What realm is Zhou Yuan in? God's holy state. There was also the Great Way of the Gods, where that sword strike unleashed an earth-shattering attack that Long Fei had seen before. I'm still too weak. Too weak. Long Fei's heart tensed up. I need to find a place to level up. But Long Fei looked at his leveling up experience. Breaking through to the Great Sage Realm required close to 400 million experience. It's too huge. Even in the Zhenwu world, this kind of experience is at the top. I'm only in the intermediate stage. How much experience would it take to reach the Great Jizuan Realm? It was hard to imagine. With too much experience, ordinary monsters wouldn't be able to satisfy Long Fei's leveling needs. Even the demon beast in the swamps found it hard to satisfy. If one wanted to break through quickly, they had to find the secret world who had a lot of experience. Huff! Long Fei moved, summoning his dragon sword. It moved. Riding on the sword, he quickly landed on the ground. The height was too high, and the Xinchalong sword could not support it for long. Long Fei could only choose to land as soon as possible. This was no longer the territory of the mountain peaks of immortal destiny. If Xiang Helian wanted to kill Long Fei, he would definitely not kill a newcomer in the Fatry Sex territory. If news of this got out, he would not be able to bear the consequences. Landing on the ground, the dragon's sword withdrew. The surroundings were a dense forest. It was as dark as night. From afar, the sounds of various wild animals could be heard from time to time. Long Fei looked in the direction of the Fatry sect and muttered, "I probably won't be able to go back in a while. There's no use in going back." If he knew that Long Fei was still alive, Zhou Yuan would definitely attack him again. Now that Long Fei had used the power of creation in his attack, it was equivalent to him losing the support of a big move. He was not Zhou Yuan's match, and furthermore, behind Zhou Yuan was Mr. Celestial Zhou Daoren. Long Fei couldn't even tell the sect master of the Fatry sex level. Even if he used the system to check it, it would be the same. The difference in level was too great. In the Saint's Temple, he felt that Zhou Daoren, just the idea, would be able to crush him. If he went back, it would basically be suicide. Moreover, he would definitely implicate Tandapeo and the others when he returned. On the contrary, if he did not return, Su Su and the others would be safer. After all, he was the target of Zhou Yuan and the others, so he did not put the three of them in his eyes. "Huff, where are we going?" Long Fei muttered. At this moment, the sound of leaves being crushed could be heard from his surroundings. It was very soft, but Long Fei could still clearly feel it. He pretended not to know as he leaned against a tree and closed his eyes to rest. Suddenly, a javelin shot out from the forest. Whoosh! The tip of the javelin carried the sound of wind breaking, and the shape of the javelin made Long Fei think of a weapon used by a game character in his previous life. The javelin in the leopard girl's hand. Without thinking too much, his body moved slightly and dodged a shot. The next second, the javelins shot from all directions in the dark forest, forming a javelin formation that sealed off all 360 degrees from Long Fei. The javelin formation? 360 degrees without a blind spot? Rub. Long Fei secretly cursed, and then the idea moved. Dragon sword. Rumble. The dragon sword moved in midair, and a round sword chi shot out. Ping, ping, pang, pang, pang. The javelin broke and fell to the ground. The people in the forest were slightly shocked, as if the dragon sword's power was shocked. However, in the next second, they began to organize another attack. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk another dozen javelins shot out. The dragon sword swept again. Long Fei locked onto a spot, and with a move between his brows, the speed of his snapshot step erupted with all the power of the 9th level of celestial phenomenon ascendant, directly rushing towards that spot. Bam! A palm struck a person in the chest. Soft. It was extremely flexible. Long Fei was startled. Woman. He felt that he was hit by a woman just now. Seeing that it was a woman who was not far away and was wearing a beast skin and a feathered hat, with a face painted with camouflage, Long Fei stepped forward and asked, "Why did you sneak attack me?" At this moment, the surrounding people quickly surrounded him. They were all carrying javelins on their backs and pointing them at Long Fei. Their entire bodies were smeared with dark mud. If they didn't sense their presence, they wouldn't have been able to sense their presence in this darkness. The injured woman was helped to her feet, looked at Long Fei, then stared at the dragon sword that was floating beside Long Fei, and immediately retreated, saying, "I'm sorry, master." Finished. The woman let out a cry, and the surrounding people quickly retreated. His speed was extremely fast. In addition to their camouflage, their figures flickered a few times in the dark forest before disappearing. Long Fei originally wanted to chase after her, but he gave up after thinking about it. After all, they didn't hurt him, so he ended up hurting a woman instead. And then again, there were no gashes on the top of their heads. This meant that they might not even have the experience to kill them. Towards this kind of situation, Long Fei was too lazy to move. "Native," Long Fei said softly. From their eyes just now, he could tell that they were hunting, not wild beasts, but humans. "Forget it. I'm still too lazy to think about it. I think it's better to think about where to go to level up." Long Fei flipped open his Western region's map and searched for half an hour, but to no avail. A little headache. Why is it so hard to find a place to level up? Long Fei complained. He opened up the system and checked, but could not find any good place. In the game, every map has their coordinates, but in this place, you don't even know how to go there. Furthermore, the places on the map are basically all low-level places. Those high-level places are all Secret World S. If there is no entrance to these Secret World S, they won't be able to enter at all. Long Fei scratched his head, feeling very depressed, unable to level up, unable to increase his strength. More importantly, he would not be able to activate the system's special reward without leveling up and killing monsters. This was very harmful to him. At this moment, the Azure Dragon ancestor slightly moved and took a deep breath, saying, "There's a secret world not far from here. Do you want to go take a look?" Long Fei was like grabbing onto a lifeline. Long Fei was like grabbing onto a lifeline. Secret world? Where? Go. Of course I'm going. I want to find a secret world to cultivate. Long Fei wanted to fly over immediately. He wished that he could find a place to level up the most. The god's elephant state in Fatry sect was too little. He was worried. It was not even enough for Zhou Yuan to crush him with one finger. The Azure Dragon ancestor said slightly, "I felt a strange energy fluctuation on a cliff in the east. According to my experience, it should be the entrance to a secret world." Every plane had many special places. It was like a black hole. It could be said that the universal realm was the first plane that was born in the ancient world. It was a very perfect and balanced plane, but during the times when the universal realm was being nurtured, many cases of invasion from other realms had occurred. There had been countless disturbances, wars, various types of formations used by the powerhouse, and the cave dwelling had all been covered up. It was possible for one to become a secret world through the transformation of time. There were many secret worlds in the universal realm. These secret worlds either had nothing and lacked true spirit, which was not suitable for cultivation, or, however, demon beast ran rampant, and there were even creatures from other realms. Fatry sect was the most famous secret world among the western regions. It was so large that it seemed like an independent plane. Long Fei was overjoyed and said, "You can still feel the existence of a secret world?" The Azure Dragon, sacred ancestral, said, "Secret world is different from ordinary places. They emit strange energy waves that are irregular and very chaotic. If your cultivation were to rise up, you would be able to sense them." "Awesome." Long Fei gave a thumbs up. "From now on, I will be relying on you." The Azure Dragon's sacred ancestral said, "Don't hold too much hope either. Universal realm are as numerous as the clouds. Many secret worlds have already been discovered. Moreover, not all secret worlds are suitable for cultivation. There are also Deathlands who die the moment they step into secret world." Sacred Ancient warned. The secret world was like a human, with a good heart and a good heart. They also wanted a heinous Chinese person. Long Fei was also clear of this point, and said, "Amen, I will be careful." Finished. Long Fei headed east. Walking out of the forest, he immediately saw a perilous mountain that towered amidst the clouds. It was extremely tall and was verdant and lush. Even if you can't enter, it's good to meditate and cultivate there. Now, Long Fei's normal practice mode could give him millions of experience points every day. At the bottom of the peak, there's a sunken valley. Within the valley, there were a few native tents. This place was like a paradise, but it didn't look like these aboriginals were living well. Broken scenes were everywhere, as if someone had just robbed them. When Long Fei walked out of the forest, he was immediately stared at by the two aboriginals, their long spears pointing straight at him. Long Fei said, "I have no ill intentions. I was just passing by. If you do not provoke me, I will not touch you, understand?" The two of them did not reply. When Long Fei walked into the valley, many people immediately surrounded him. Regardless of whether they were men, women, or children, all had weapons in their hands, and their eyes were filled with anger and hatred, as if Long Fei was their enemy. The lady who was injured by Long Fei's palm walked out, looked at Long Fei, and said, "Master, I have already apologized for my actions." There was also a hint of anger in his words. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "I accept your apology. I was just passing by with no intention of harming anyone. If anyone wants to die, I'm willing to send them to the underworld. This was the truth. If anyone dared to touch him, Long Fei would not be courteous at all. The center of female chief's brows tightened as he asked, "May I know where Sire is going?" Long Fei looked into the distance and said, "You don't need to know about this. Just make way for me." Female chief said, "If you're going to that mountain, I suggest you quickly turn around." Long Fei said softly, "Why do you turn back?" Female chief said, "Because that place is too dangerous. No one that went in has been able to come out alive. It's better that you leave quickly, otherwise you won't be able to leave later." The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up and said, "I really don't have anything that I can't leave." The instant after Long Fei finished speaking, the great mountain was suddenly engulfed by a strong wind. Rumble! A dense black cloud came rolling in. It was like a monster appearing in a movie world. The dark cloud covered the entire valley. It was also at this time the aboriginals in the valley scurried about. The children were so scared that they began to wail. The valley was a mess. "Protect the elderly and children. Everyone else follow me." A group of people followed the female chief and quickly went forward. Boom, boom, boom. Black fog bombarded down from the black clouds. Warriors wearing black armor, wearing black hats, and holding black scythes with traces of dark energy on their bodies, descended. The leader of the group had contempt in his eyes as he said coldly, "Lisa, how are the preparations going?" Female chief frowned and said, "You gave us 3 days, but we can't find those things at all. Can you find it?" The leader's eyes moved slightly, and the sickle in his hand moved in an instant, landing on the shoulder of an aboriginal man. "Say that again." The aboriginal man looked at the chief, his body secretly trembling. Female chief said, "Sir." As soon as the words left his mouth, the sickle moved and a head flew into the air, fresh blood gushing out from it. The black-armored man let out a dark sneer. In the distance, a woman tightly hugged a child. The child was shouting angrily, "Daddy, Daddy." The woman's tears flowed uncontrollably. The aboriginal warrior tightly clenched both his hands, wishing that he could pounce on the black-armored leader and tear him to shreds. Their strength wasn't their opponent at all. The black-armored captain coldly said, "Can we find them all now?" The sickle moved. It directly rested on female chief's neck. Many of the native warriors rushed forward. However, the black-armored captain only coldly smiled without the slightest trace of fear. Female chief said solemnly, "Our strength is insufficient to do that. Even if you kill all of us, it is impossible. The more you kill, the more impossible it is." The black-armored captain sinisterly said, "Are you threatening me? Very good. Since you won't be able to complete it, you can just give it to me." His killing intent stirred. At this time, Long Fei said lightly, "That's enough." The leader raised his eyes and looked at Long Fei, who was at the back of the crowd. His eyes flashed with a cold light, and he said, "Who the hell are you? You think you are qualified to talk to me?" Long Fei slowly walked forward and said again, "That's enough." The black-armored captain's eyes were full of anger. "Who are you? You dare to teach me a lesson?" The corner of Long Fei's mouth drew back and said, "I'm someone you can't afford to offend." "I'm someone you can't afford to offend. I'm someone you can't afford to offend." It was a very, very arrogant sentence. Moreover, Long Fei spoke calmly, which made him seem even more arrogant. "Ha ha! Ha ha!" The black-armored captain laughed loudly. "Someone I can't afford to offend? Ha ha!" The black-armored warrior behind him also started to laugh loudly. At this moment, the scythe in the black-armored leader's hand suddenly moved and arrived in an instant, landing on Long Fei's neck, and said gloomily, "Even the elders of Fatry's sect do not dare to say something like that in front of me. Who the hell are you? Arrogant in front of me? You're courting death." As soon as he finished, the black-armored leader's scythe moved, directly slashing towards Long Fei's neck. The corner of Long Fei's mouth raised as his right arm sank. "Kacha, kacha!" The big master guard arm moved, and with a heavy clench of his right fist, he threw out a punch. Late arrival. A punch landed on the left side of the black-armored captain's face. Bam! The head flew out from the neck. 100 meters away, an enormous stone was smashed into countless pieces by the head of the black-armored captain. Blood gushed out. The black sickle was just half a centimeter away from Long Fei's neck. But even so, Long Fei wasn't afraid in the slightest because he believed in his own strength. Clang! The scythe fell to the ground, half of its body swaying a few times before falling to the ground. The surrounding crowd was astonished. All of them wanted to stare at Long Fei as if he was a monster. The black-armored warrior S also stood there dumbstruck. Long Fei said coldly, "I said before, I am someone you cannot afford to offend. Scram immediately." The black-armored warrior S reacted and instantly ran into the mountains. As they were escaping, the dark clouds in the sky also retreated quickly. Long Fei looked at the black cloud and muttered, "You guys are still far from being able to act tough with me." Finished. Long Fei also did not think to stop and directly headed towards the direction of the mountains. But right at this moment, plop! Female chief suddenly knelt in front of Long Fei and said, "Master, please save us." Female chief knelt down, and all of the surrounding clan members also knelt down quickly. In the entire clan, men, women, old, and children all knelt down and said at the same time, "Lord, please save us." Long Fei was secretly surprised for a moment, then said, "I just killed their leader, and you guys should be safe now. So before they return, you guys can leave and find another place to rebuild your homes." Female chief said, "They took old chief away, and also, we cannot leave this place. We have to protect this place with our time. The black-armored head you killed is only a small leader. There are even more powerful people on the Sacred Mountain. We are no match for them, so please help us." Air. Long Fei saw that the EXP he gained from killing the black-armored army's leader was only a few thousand. Compared to the hundreds of millions of experience points gained from leveling up, this was not even worth mentioning. Just when he wanted to refuse, the system beeped. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering the quest. Mission: Save the Old Patriarch, Extinguish the Black Wind Stronghold. Level S-Class. Time: 3 days. Reward: 1 million experience points, 100,000 true spiritual value points, a special reward. Obtain the trust and goodwill of the Black Wind clan. The task was triggered. This was different. Even if Long Fei wanted to refuse, he couldn't refuse now. Without even mentioning 10 million experience, what would be the system's special reward? Long Fei thought of the power of creation and became excited. With more power of creation, my factory sect will be safe. The idea moved. Except, at the same time, Long Fei said, "All right, I'll help you. Save your old patriarch, then chase that group of bandits out of here." Long Fei supported the female chief, saying, "Don't worry, I will do as I say." The female chief said solemnly, "Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Only, Lord, the Black Wind Stronghold's chief is extremely powerful. His cultivation has already reached the Emperor's realm. I'm afraid that you." Female chief was worried. The level of the Emperor's realm was indeed formidable. However, as long as it was not the god's holy state, Long Fei did not have to be too afraid. Moreover, he had the big Master Guard arm, so as long as he used it, it would be able to shatter the void. We'll talk about it later. It was just an Emperor Realm little boss. There was no problem, but there was one thing that Long Fei couldn't understand. This kind of boss quest shouldn't even reach the standard of its class boss. Why is the quest rank S? This was rather strange. It was at this time that female chief spoke again. Black Wind Stronghold is an Emperor strongman. With his outstanding cultivation, he even has an Archmage behind him, which means that his cultivation is even stronger. It is Archmage's orders that we should gather 10,000 different kinds of demon beasts' blood essence. How could he possibly gather 10,000 kinds of demon beast blood essence within 3 days? Archmage. So that's how it is. Long Fei secretly thought, if that's the case, then the S-grade mission will not be hard to explain. Difficult, that was the challenge. Zhou Yuan was also a god's holy state. Even if Archmage's cultivation was not God's holy state, if he could control the Black Wind Stronghold Lord, then even if his cultivation was not God's holy state, he would not be able to check much. This was a very good challenge for Long Fei. Seeing the hidden lock between Long Fei's brows, the female chief was afraid that Long Fei would leave, so he took out something from the space ring in his hands and said, "Master, that Archmage cannot leave the holy mountain. He is extremely afraid of our tribe's sacred object." A statue's head. It was like a huge glove. The female chief said, "We are unable to get rid of the Archmage. If you can get close to him, using this sacred object would greatly reduce his power." Long Fei took the idea and opened up the attributes, checking it out. His pupils suddenly tightened. Damn, a holy artifact. Item. The holy item of Black Wind attributes. Decreases target's attack by 30%. Description. Possesses the defense of holy items. Just by reducing the attack power of the target by 30% was already an incredible feat, to say nothing of others. If a powerhouse of 100 levels lost 30% of their power, wouldn't that mean that they were only at level 70? Abnormal. Abnormal. If I could have it. Long Fei thought of the special item that the system rewarded him with in the past, downgrade spray. This was completely the same meaning as downgrade spray. The key point was, downgrade spray had a time limit and could be used once. This was different. Long Fei was secretly excited in his heart and said, "All right, I'll definitely help you get rid of Black Wind Stronghold." Female chief said, "Thank you, thank you." They now unconditionally trusted Long Fei. If Long Fei took away their sacred object, they wouldn't have to worry because if this sacred object were to leave this place, it would be useless. She did not mention this to Long Fei. However, female chief did not know what kind of person Long Fei was and did not know how many almighty powerhouse he had. The Azure Dragon ancestor gave a faint sound and said, "This sacred item of yours is actually refined from the skull of the Black Wind ancestor. The item is not bad, but it has a restricted area of power. However, I have a way to make sure that he doesn't have a geographical limit." A 30% reduction in strength was not normal. A 30% reduction in strength was not normal. However, if it could only be used in a specific area, then the value of this item would not be as good as what Long Fei imagined. The Azure Dragon, sacred ancestral's words, lit up Long Fei's eyes. If he could take this out, he wouldn't have to worry too much even if he met Zhou Yuan. Long Fei immediately asked, "What is it?" The Azure Dragon ancestor calmly said, "I need some special materials. These materials should be inside this mountain. You can go in first. If I see them, I'll tell you." "All right," Long Fei promised as he quickened his pace to enter the Black Wind Holy Mountain. "What did you say? Your leader was actually beheaded with a single punch?" Black Wind Stronghold, Wanxiong Hall. Seated on the high seat was an extremely tall and sturdy man clad in beast skin. There were many scars on his body, and his firm muscles looked as if they were about to pop out one by one. With a glare of his thick eyebrows, the few black-armored warriors that had returned immediately knelt on the ground and began to tremble. Black Wind Stronghold Chief, Chen Wanxiong. At the 4th level of the Emperor's realm, he was different from the other martial artists. From beginning to end, he had always been cultivating his strength, and his body was like a reservoir of energy. The burst of pure physical strength was unusually brutal. Chen Wanxiong looked unhappy and asked, "Who is it?" "Lisa, just a mere Turkish. Their old chief is already locked up by us. Do you still dare to resist?" A black armored warrior said immediately, "It's not a group of aboriginals, but an outsider." "An outsider? A meddling disciple of the Fatri sect?" The expression in Chen Wanxiong's eyes changed slightly, as there was a hint of fear for the Fatri sect. After all, the Fatri sect was the strongest sect in the vicinity. Moreover, within the jurisdiction of the Fatri sect, as long as anyone made a request, they would set a mission for the disciples to complete. Fatri sect had a very good reputation in this generation. The black armored disciple said, I don't know about that, but that brat said that he doesn't care about the elders of the Fatri sect at all. Oh, Chun Wanxiong was slightly shocked. There is only one possibility that dares to say such words. He is not someone from the Fatri sect. As long as he is not a disciple of the Fatri sect, then everything will be fine. Regardless of who he is, for him to dare to ruin my plans, let's see how he will deal with me then. Not waiting for him to finish, a disciple rushed in frantically and said, Stronghold Chief, something bad has happened. Something bad has happened. That person is charging in. What is it? What is it? Chen Wanxiong shouted loudly. That disciple said, There is a young man that has been killing his way up here. He's about to slaughter his way into the stronghold. Chen Wanxiong's eyes turned sinister. His eyes unleashed a strong, killing intent. Take my blade. The two black armored warriors walked to the side of the main hall. The two of them used all their strength to lift the huge mountain-splitting knife, and with each step they took, a deep footprint appeared on their feet. These two black armored warriors were also God's elephant state-s, and their strength had reached 100,000 kilograms. But, even so, they still felt that it was extremely difficult. You dare to behave so atrociously in my territory? I'd like to see how many heads you have. Chun Wanxiong moved his right hand, easily lifting the mountain-splitting knife up. The incomparably heavy mountain-splitting knife in his hands felt light, as if there was nothing there, and he let out a heavy shout, Little ones, follow me and kill our way out. As soon as he finished speaking, Chun Wanxiong jumped down the steps, and the instant he landed, the ground shook slightly. The bandits quickly followed him. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Black Wind Stronghold's Little Luo, for obtaining 1200 experience, 120 true spiritual value, and 1 universal value. Poor amount of experience. The only thing that was of use was universal value. However, Long Fei did not show mercy just because he had less experience. These bandits committed countless evil deeds, and each of them could be said to be unforgivable. One of them went up and killed him in an instant. The system beep continued to ring. Ding, ding, ding. These small fries would basically fall if Long Fei's heavy sword touched them. It was simply impossible for them to endure the sword intent of Long Fei's heavy sword. Azure Dragon, do you have any materials you need? Long Fei asked. The Azure Dragon ancestor shook his head and said, I haven't found it yet. Long Fei did not ask any more questions and continued to attack. Rumble, see you suddenly. A sound of explosion came from afar, followed by an imposing blade chi. It came crushing down along, bringing with it the pressure of the Emperor's strongman. A fierce gale swept out. The trees around him swayed. Buzz! The sound of a blade could be heard. Next, the blade tore through the air, and an incomparably thick energy rushed straight towards Long Fei's chest. Before the person appeared, the blade had already arrived. Strength followed. Long Fei lowered the center of his brows, and the heavy sword moved, blocking right in front of his chest. When the power clashed with the heavy sword, it immediately produced an explosive sound. Long Fei retreated backwards in a hurry, the center of his right hand becoming slightly numb. Not waiting for him to stabilize himself, the heavy sword attacked. When the mountain-splitting knife stabbed onto the heavy sword was immediately pushed down on Long Fei's chest. Bam! With one foot pressing on the rock, Long Fei's body sank, barely managing to hold the mountain-splitting knife back. Whoosh! The mountain-splitting knife moved and directly flew out. Chun Wanxiong flew out of the forest, one hand holding onto the flying mountain-splitting knife, and glanced at the pale Long Fei, coldly snorting. What kind of expert am I, to think I am just a waste of God's elephant state? Someone you can't afford to offend? Ha! How funny. Brat, I, Chun Wanxiong, am someone you cannot afford to offend. Chun Wanxiong said heavily. He did not place Long Fei in his eyes at all. He did not even need to look at a God's elephant state warrior. Kneel down and apologize to me. I will give you a complete corpse. The surrounding Black Wind Stronghold disciples also caught up. Seeing Long Fei's appearance, They all couldn't help but laugh out loud. The corner of Long Fei's mouth hooked up as he said indifferently, "Where is your Archmage?" Chun Wanqiong's triangular eyes slightly sunk and said coldly, "You actually know of Archmage? Looks like those Turkish people told you everything." "Then forget it. There's no need for you to kneel and kowtow. Just go to hell." As soon as the word dead fell, the mountain-splitting blade in Chun Wanqiong's hand moved, and the blade image became 10,000 times heavier as it struck towards Long Fei while blotting out the sky. Long Fei smiled faintly. He flipped again and said, "Dragon sword." Buzz! The ear-piercing sound of the sword echoed out as it flew through the air. In an instant, the sword intent was like an illusion. One after another, the bandits from Blackwind's stronghold fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, over 100 of his minions were killed. Finally, the Xinchalong's sword landed in front of Chun Wanqiong and pointed at his forehead. Chun Wanqiong also suddenly stopped, his body secretly shaking, and his eyes revealed fear. Long Fei said indifferently, "Can you tell me where the Archmage is now?" Master of Blackwind Stronghold, 4th level of the Emperor Realm. Master of Blackwind Stronghold, 4th level of the Emperor Realm. This level wasn't even that of small boss. He did not place Long Fei in his eyes at all, and Long Fei did not place him in his eyes at all. Being pointed at between the brows by his Xinchalong's sword, Chun Wanqiong's body instantly sank down, and he said, "Who exactly are you?" It was impossible for a god's elephant state warrior to have such a powerful divine treasure. The only possibility was that the Long Fei in front of him was very powerful. Long Fei said indifferently, "I said before, I am someone you cannot offend. Speak, where's the Archmage?" A S-class quest required one to match up to an S-class boss. Otherwise, it would be too low-leveled. Obviously, the boss in this quest was the Archmage that had yet to appear. Chun Wanqiong's eyes slightly tightened and said, "I don't know who you're talking about, but Blackwind Mountain doesn't have any Archmage." "Don't say it." Long Fei sneered. Buzz! The Xinchalong's sword moved suddenly and directly pressed against the center of Chun Wanqiong's brows. Its skin ruptured, and a stream of blood flowed down from the center of his brows. Immediately, Chun Wanqiong's body started to tremble, and he said, I'll tell you. You should let go of this sword first." Long Fei said, "Dragon sword." The dragon sword moved and directly flew towards Chun Wanqiong. Chun Wanqiong was like a grasshopper on the chopping block. He could not escape at all. Chun Wanqiong panted heavily. He lifted his eyes slightly, moved his right hand, and a black ball appeared in his hand. With a heavy sound, he said, "Escape." Boom! The black ball exploded. A ball of black fog floated up. Immediately, the aura around Chun Wanqiong immediately disappeared. Long Fei trembled inside as he quickly rushed forward, but F***CK. Awesome. Space escape technique? The Xinchalong sword said, "Master, this kind of escape technique is too low-leveled. It won't last long. I'll go chase him." Without waiting for Long Fei's reply, the Xinchalong sword flew out. Long Fei did not stop them as well. Xinchalong's sword's senses were much stronger than his own. Furthermore, as long as the Xinchalong sword could suppress Chun Wanqiong, there was no need for him to worry. Long Fei walked towards Blackwind Stronghold. The stronghold was just a normal stronghold, nothing special about it. He didn't have the materials that the Azure Dragon Sacred Ancient needed either. After searching back and forth, he didn't find any special traps. Long Fei sat on the stairs and waited for news from the Xinchalong swordess. But they waited for an entire day, and even on the second day, the Xinchalong sword still did not return. Huff! Ding! System notification. Experience points plus 499,2221 points. Long Fei exhaled a mouthful of impure qi. His eyes opened wide as he looked at the sky and muttered, "This place is truly dense and dense true spirit." The thicker the true spirit, the more experience he would absorb from it. He was still a bit away from breaking through 5 million, which made Long Fei a little surprised. It was just that A day's worth of normal training time was only an hour. Dragon sword? Long Fei moved. The Xinchalong sword did not reply. It could not help but feel anxious inside as it felt that something had happened. Long Fei looked at the summit of Black Wind Mountain, then thought about the secret world that the Azure Dragon, sacred ancestral, spoke of, and thought to himself, could he have followed me into the secret world? He could not sense the existence of the dragon sword. There was only one possibility for such a situation to occur. It was too far away. Long Fei did not search for the Black Wind Archmage again. The mission was naturally important, but compared to the mission, the dragon sword was more important. Speed increased. Long Fei swiftly rushed to the peak of the Black Wind Holy Mountain. The higher he went, the thicker the true spirit became. However, the true spirit was dense but very chaotic, as if it was continuously being sucked in by a strong power, forming a chaotic vortex. Could it be that there's a spirit gathering formation here? The powerhouse required too many breaths of true spirit to cultivate, and just absorbing them was not enough. In this case, it would need a spirit gathering formation. Instead, he used a formation to absorb it. It was very common for Sacred Mountain to have such a spirit gathering array, but the absorbed breath of true spirit did not flow into the array, but into the endless void. Long Fei did not understand this. Breath of true spirit flowed into the void. Why is that? Could it be that someone is cultivating in the void? Impossible, right? This went against common sense. Moreover, the space laws in the void were unstable. If one were to accidentally be struck by the power of law, then that would be an existence that would lose their soul. If it wasn't cultivation, then what could it be? The Azure Dragon ancestor suddenly said, there is a top-grade material at the place where the true soul flows. Long Fei was startled and said, Azure Dragon, do you know where you can enter that void? The Azure Dragon, sacred ancestral, said, there's a hidden formation here. If we break through it, we should be able to find the entrance. Formation? Long Fei looked around. There was nothing special about him. He was also familiar with array formations. He only trained in ancient array techniques, but he didn't notice the hidden formations around him at all. This could only mean that the person setting up the formation was extremely powerful. How do I break this formation? Long Fei asked. The Azure Dragon ancestors said, if you can't find the location of the array formation, then use the simplest method. Blood essence, your blood essence. Long Fei was secretly shocked. My blood essence is useful? The Azure Dragon ancestors said, you don't understand yourself. You don't know how strong your blood essence is. All right. Long Fei did not waste any time. With a flick of his finger, he condensed a drop of blood essence. Long Fei used his own spirit and struck the ground heavily. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The entire Black Wind Holy Mountain started to shake, and the surrounding environment had undergone a drastic change. It was as if they had turned into a dark death land. Even the rocks had been charred black. All living things in the world contained true spirit S, and it was just a matter of how much it was. However, there wasn't even a single bit of true spirit left in the surrounding plants, trees, and stones. All of it. This formation was a little too vicious. Even a spirit convergence array wouldn't be like this. When the formation activated, a gust of wind appeared at the edge of the cliff, causing all the surrounding true spirit to rush into the wind tunnel. The Azure Dragon ancestor said, that piece of high-quality material is in this void, which is also the entrance to the secret world. Long Fei stepped forward. Boom! He let out a series of strange laughter. I didn't expect a single drop of your blood essence to break my 10,000 desiccations formation. It seems like you have an incomparably strong power in your blood vein. It just so happens that I need this power right now. Come, give me your blood essence. TSK Tisk. His laughter was like the weeping of ghosts. A bone-like palm directly grabbed towards Long Fei, and a thick black cloud heavily rolled down from above Long Fei's head. 10,000 cowhows in the dark clouds roared. Long Fei's expression tightened, and the corner of his mouth hooked up. You want my blood essence? That will depend on whether you have the right to live. The idea sank. Killing sword. The idea moved. A small dagger flew out, straight towards Archmage, fast as lightning, unable to dodge, although it was not a big move, but a killing move. But the killing sword directly penetrated Archmage's body, causing no harm to his entire body, and no damage to float up above his head. This is bad. There was no doubt about the attack power of the killing sword. There was no doubt about the attack power of the killing sword. The power of the ancient inheritance. Now that he had cultivated to the Mahayana realm, even if the Emperor Strongman was hit by it, he would at least lose half his life. But, unexpectedly, nothing had happened. Not an entity? Long Fei immediately thought of this, but when the Archmage's skeletal hand falls, even if it isn't solid, it would still cause damage. There was no time to think. Snapshot step. With a huge change in speed, Long Fei quickly retreated. The idea moved. Any road. Use your 1,000,000 volts of lightning to blast him. At this moment, Long Fei could not keep Any Road's loyalty, whether he would betray him or not. If it was a spirit body, then the lightning attack would be its nemesis. Any Road's face was filled with unwillingness to be summoned. Seeing the Archmage coming towards him, the power in his body surged, and the dense power of lightning descended from above. Rumble. It directly struck onto Archmage's body. No response. Not a single strand of hair fell off. Holy **T. Long Fei was secretly surprised. What's going on? Any Road was also stunned. He did not regain his senses for a long time, but he was furious. He was extremely confident in his own lightning bolts, and there was no way that guy could withstand it. Of course, except for one pervert. 10,000,000 volts, thunderbell. Buzz. There was the sound of a thunderclap, and the bell rang out. Thick bolts of lightning struck down heavily, enveloping the entire peak of Black Wind Mountain with thunder and lightning. However, even so, Archmage was still unharmed. An invincible existence. But even if he hadn't dealt any damage, it shouldn't have been like this. There was only one result. It did not hit Archmage at all. Neither Any Road's lightning nor Long Fei's killing sword managed to hit the Archmage, but they could clearly see him being hit. What was going on? Any Road was about to go berserk, and he was extremely unhappy. Lightning furiously struck down. Long Fei slightly said, "Big brother, if that's impossible, then forget it. You should just go back. I know that you have already tried your best, right?" Any Road ignored Long Fei and started bombarding on his own. But no matter how much strength he used, it was useless. There was no damage done at all. Not even MSS appeared. However, what made Long Fei a little surprised was, ding! System notification. Any Road's loyalty level increased to 3 stars. It was a bit unexpected. At the same time, the seeds within One Piece began to sprout. Long Fei moved. Mongoose, try using your Sharingan. Buzz. The incomparably cold weasel appeared in midair. Its eye pupils changed, and its kaleidoscope-like eyes caused the surrounding world to instantly turn blood red. His illusion attack also followed right after. But it was the same. None of the attacks were effective, not even the MIS. What the F***K? Is he so abnormal? What kind of person is he exactly? Long Fei's mind was a little numb. He really couldn't understand. No matter how strong and Class Quest boss was, it was impossible for it to be so perverted. No attacks are effective? Xiao Qian, come, let's see if he's a human or a ghost. Long Fei had no way. Yes, Xiao Qian was a ghost lady out of all the female spirits. She could be considered a spirit body, and the spirit bodies should be the most familiar with each other. Yes, Xiao Qian was summoned, and after pausing for a moment, he said, "He's not a ghost." That's weird. Long Fei was stunned. Initially, he had also wanted to summon H to give it a try, but it seemed that there was no longer any meaning. What went wrong? Long Fei's brain spun, sweeping through all of the attacks in front of him and behind, but he couldn't find any loopholes. At this moment, Archmage was abnormally excited. What an unexpected harvest. I didn't expect you to be able to summon so many guys with strange powers. I need this power too much. Kid, Do you have any other powers that you have yet to summon? Quick, quick, summon them all for me to experience. It was filled with mockery. Moreover, the Archmage also didn't attack Long Fei, because he knew that Long Fei's attacks were useless against him. He was extremely pleased with himself. Archmage laughed. With your low level of cultivation, you are nothing but trash in front of me, haha. He laughed wildly. Long Fei's heart was on fire, but he could not let it out. He kept thinking, there must be something wrong, there must be. Where? Where is it? Long Fei looked around, but was still unable to find the place. Archmage continued to sneer. You think you can save those Turkish people? You think you can beat trash like Chen Wanxiong is impressive, but you are nothing more than an ant in front of me. When my godly skills reach large success, even Fatry's sex Mr. Celestial wouldn't be able to stop me. Ha ha. Ha ha. Long Fei's eyes flashed, as if he had sensed something, and said, What did you say just now? Archmage said, saying that Fatry's sex Mr. Celestial can't stop me. Long Fei replied, It's not this sentence, the previous sentence. He was too lonely here, and finally came to challenge his person. He did not want to kill him so quickly, and furthermore, he was enjoying the process of Long Fei's despair, and said, saying you're not even comparable to an ant in front of me. That's not it either. One more sentence. The words in Long Fei's mind felt like they were about to come out. It was just a little bit short of the Archmage's reminder. Archmage laughed coldly and said, That trash, Chen Wanxiong. Without waiting for Archmage to finish speaking, Long Fei's eyes flashed with a bright light. That's right. It's Chen Wanxiong. Ha ha. Long Fei suddenly burst out laughing. Archmage was a little displeased. What are you laughing about? Long Fei said, Chen Wanxiong is indeed not very good, but his escaping technique is brilliant, his spatial escape technique. And you? The cultivation methods you use are also spatial type. This is not your physical body, but it is also your physical body. The key is, we are not in the same space. Although I don't know how you did it, but this one must be related to your secret world's divine treasure, right? Long Fei grinned. Archmage's face sunk. He stared at Long Fei and said, You're very smart, but no matter how smart you are, it's useless because you're going to die soon. I die. The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up as he gently laughed and said, I'm afraid the one who's going to die is you. The idea moved. Long Fei's right arm sank. At this moment, the idea moved. Boom. The bit of primordial energy from the 100 points of universal value was fused into Long Fei's body, and he channeled all of his strength into his right arm. Big Master Guard arm. Crack, crack. With a series of sounds of forces colliding, Long Fei punched Archmage. Archmage laughed complacently. Ha. It's useless. This trash won't be able to kill me. He punched out, piercing through the Archmage. Long Fei did not stop. He secretly laughed. I didn't say I wanted to kill you. I blasted the wind tunnel behind you. Archmage's body was like a projection. Archmage's body was like a projection. It was just something that came from another dimension. However, the only thing that was different about its projection was that its power truly existed, and the feeling it gave Long Fei was that it existed in reality as well. However, as long as the wind tunnel was destroyed, all of this would be broken. Long Fei punched with all his strength, striking the wind tunnel. Archmage's forehead turned sinister. It was too late to stop it. He did not know that Long Fei would suddenly lock onto the cave and let out a mournful wail. Ah! Rumble! Rumble! A powerful energy exploded out, and the power of the Big Master Guard arm combined with the power of the Universal Soul directly covered the entire wind tunnel. It also sucked in the center of the vortex. At this moment, the wind tunnel seemed to be sealed off by Long Fei's powerful strength, as if it couldn't function properly, and started to create a series of cracks in the area around him. Creak, creak, creak. Archmage's figure suddenly disappeared. The projection disappeared, and Archmage's figure also disappeared. As expected, Long Fei said in relief. Just as I expected, this Archmage is proficient in using spatial attribute cultivation techniques. The ball Chan Wanxiong used to escape is a type of spatial escape technique. It should also have been created by him. If it wasn't for the fact that Chan Wanxiong really couldn't understand what was going on with Archmage's body. However, at this moment, roar, walala, the sound of wind howling came out from the cave. Brat, you think you can kill me just like that? You think too much. So what if you block the wind tunnel? If you continue like this, you'll only be able to hasten the pace of your own death. Ha ha ha. Laughter raged. The wind tunnel rumbled. The Archmage breath of true spirit condensed into a solid form and continuously released outwards. Streams of energy crazily revolved in the space around his body. It was as if a large machine was spinning. Boom, boom, boom. A thunderous sound rang out. Archmage shouted, "Inhale!" Bam! Long Fei was instantly sucked in. He landed in a space that was like a cave. A series of explosions could be heard from the depths of the cave. The Azure Dragon, sacred ancestral, faintly said, "The secret world's entrance is inside." Without waiting for Long Fei to think any further, Archmage floated high up in the sky, coldly stared at Long Fei, his eyes filled with killing intent, and said, "Break my formation, destroy my wind tunnel. I want your life." Buzz! As soon as he exerted his strength, he completely crushed Long Fei. Archmage's skeletal hand directly locked onto Long Fei's head. The pressure was parallel. Long Fei's state of mind was instantly crushed, and his reaction became sluggish, as if his body was enduring several times the gravity. However, Long Fei was not afraid. He was afraid that the Archmage would escape, because that would be troublesome. There was a time limit on the mission, and it was already halfway through. If he didn't complete it by then, it would be a waste. In that instant, seeing Archmage's palm attack come at him, Long Fei looked around, then said, "There shouldn't be anyone else here, right?" Archmage laughed loudly. "Even if there is someone who can save you, no one else can." "Ha ha! Brat, give me your life." Zhang Xian's finger moved. The fingerless hand grabbed towards Long Fei's head as though it were a steel nail. Long Fei's eyes darkened. He took out the statue of the female chief from the space ring and said, "Open it for me." Buzz! The black wind statue seemed to release a boundary, and it immediately covered the surrounding area. At this moment, Archmage's power and pressure had instantly decreased by 30%. Archmage's eyes turned cold, and he said solemnly, "The Black Wind Tribe's sacred weapon? I didn't expect you to have such a thing. However, so what? Even if my power gets weaker, it would still be more than enough to deal with trash like you, who is a god's elephant state." Indeed, even if the Archmage cultivation decreased by 30%, dealing with an ordinary god's elephant state ranker would still be as easy as crushing an ant to death. However, is Long Fei a normal god's elephant state powerhouse? Weakening the release of spatial energy, Long Fei's lips curled as he said, "Enough? Haha, then let's see how it works." Rot! Long Fei's right hand moved, and in that instant his chest seemed to burn up, the power of the cursed symbols emitting fluorescent light. It hurts. It was as if a red-hot iron was branded on his chest. The piercing pain made Long Fei grit his teeth. It was also at this time, when Archmage saw the curse rune on Long Fei's chest, his eyes sank even deeper. God's tribe's curse mark. You are someone that the God's tribe wants to kill. Ha! As long as I take your head off, I can obtain the power of ancient inheritance. Ha! Brat, you really gave me benefits. The universal realm was not inferior to an inferior plane. Moreover, the powerhouse of the god's holy state could tell at a glance what the rune mark on Long Fei's chest was due to these emperor realms. Just by looking at the Archmage, he could tell that the rune on Long Fei's chest was that of a god's tribe curse mark. He was someone that the Emperor Xian of the god's tribe wanted to kill, no matter if he lived or died. As long as they handed him over to the god's tribe, they would receive a huge reward and could even become a descendant of God's tribe. The God's tribe, the supreme existence of the universal realm, an absolute hegemon. Furthermore, Emperor Xian was the #1 powerhouse. The shrine was also the place with the densest breath of true spirit outside of the ancient world. Cultivating in it for one day was equivalent to cultivating outside for 10 years. Who doesn't want to enter the god's tribe and enter the shrine? Archmage was the same. Looking at the curse mark on Long Fei's chest, he was even more excited than if he had seen a mountain of gold. He felt that this was a gift from heaven, and felt that his fate was about to come true. Ha ha! Ha ha! Kid, you're mine now. Releasing all of his power, the Archmage clawed downwards. The corner of Long Fei's mouth rose and said, "You're wrong, you're mine." His left hand moved. Boom! The god's tribe S on his chest began to burn even more intensely, like a flame. Following his level increase, the antiphasic force of the god's tribe S also became stronger. The purplish-black underworld fire moved. Right and left pincers. It exploded out. Ha ha! With this kind of power? Not enough. Die! Archmage was proud. He had forgotten all about his pride. In his eyes, Long Fei was his welfare. He did not put Long Fei's strength in his eyes at all. Similarly, Long Fei was the same. The Archmage was but an experienced baby in his eyes. Boom! The two forces collided. Blood hung from the corner of Long Fei's mouth. His internal organs were at his chest, and there wasn't the slightest bit of health point on the top of his head. However, at that moment, he released the Dragon God's transformation with zero blood indestructible. In his mind, the spring of life healed him quickly. Archmage was slightly taken aback. He didn't die. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "I'm not dead, but you're going to die." "You're going to die soon." The corner of Long Fei's mouth raised into a smile. "You're going to die soon." The corner of Long Fei's mouth raised into a smile. Because on one side of Archmage's body was the corrosion of the decaying power, and on the other side was the swallowing of the underworld fire. His body was already on fire. These could not explain anything. But crimson damage continued to float above his head. This proved everything. Normal fighters couldn't see it. But Long Fei had the system. Everything became data. He could see Archmage's head continuously losing blood, and that long line of health point was also continuously decreasing in number. 100,238, 98,322, 110,203. The damage continued to superimpose, unceasingly overlapping. Long Fei did not defend against the previous exchange of attacks. However, he never thought that the Archmage would still have such a strong attack despite losing 30% of its power. If it wasn't for the fact that Long Fei had zero blood won't die, he would already be dead. It was dangerous, but it was worth it. Archmage's health was about to hit rock bottom. Archmage looked to his left and right, his gaze downcast. Impossible. How could you possibly hurt me? You are just trash of the gods' elephant state. He couldn't believe it. However, he did feel that his life was slipping away, and he could not control it. A black flame was burning on one side. At the side, the dead body beside him was quickly withering into powder. The Archmage panicked and anxiously said, "Master, save me, quickly. Save me, I was wrong. Save me, I don't want to die, I still don't want to die." Long Fei smiled faintly. "Where did Chun Wanxiong go?" Archmage looked into the depths of the cave and said, "I threw him inside. There's even a sword that followed him." Long Fei asked again, "Where are the Black Wind Clan's old chiefess?" Archmage said, "It's also inside. It's all inside. A secret world is inside. I've said everything. Can you save me now? Quick, quick." He couldn't hold on any longer. The loss of HP was too fast. He couldn't control it all. Looking at the last sliver of blood on his head, Long Fei walked forward and laughed coldly. "I already know that I'm someone that the God's tribe is chasing after. Do you think I'll still save you?" Archmage's eyes turned sinister as he said, "Then you will die with me." A furious roar. Archmage ignored everything and rushed towards Long Fei. Long Fei stood in place without moving, only smiling slightly, and said, "Die." 100,331, the last trace of blood on his head was gone. His health point had turned into 0, and at the same time, Archmage fell from the sky, his body turning into a pool of blood. Longfei looked at his decayed body contemptuously. This old one does not have confidence that I will walk in front of you? Stupid. Of course, after clearly seeing the health point above Archmage's head, Longfei would step forward. Huff! Longfei's heart calmed down as he said, "Explode." Ding! Congratulations to player Longfei for killing Black Wind Archmage for obtaining 280,000 experience, 20,000 true spiritual value, and 1 universal value. Congratulations to player Longfei for obtaining God's secret technique. Do you wish to cultivate it? Congratulations to player Longfei for obtaining Purple Xian Crystal. Congratulations to player Longfei for obtaining. The system continuously sounded out a few notifications. Concealed Spirit? Damn, this should be the spatial attribute cultivation technique he practices, right? Longfei looked at the description of the skill and smiled excitedly. Dig. Cultivating to the peak can create 10,000 hidden divine bodies. Isn't this a bit too abnormal? Cultivate. Longfei ordered. When he turned to look at the purple Xian crystal, it was similar to an ordinary purple crystal. The only difference was that the purple Xian crystal had a few purple threads within it, and its existence was similar to that of blood threads. Very special. Longfei muttered, "What is this?" The Azure Dragon's sacred ancestral said, "A piece of special crystal is one of the things I told you that can break the restrictions on the statue of Black Wind. There's no need for so much. I only need a tiny bit, but can you make the remaining materials for me to forge dragon armor?" Longfei didn't think much of it and said, "All right. However, help me remove the forbidden Black Wind statue first." The Azure Dragon's sacred ancestral said, "Fine. If not for it, Archmage's attack a moment ago would have been enough to kill Longfei in an instant. Even with the Divine Dragon Transformation skill, he wouldn't have been able to block it. If he could remove the Black Wind statue's taboo, that would be perfect. As for the reason, Longfei did not think too much about the Azure Dragon's sacred ancestor wanting to make dragon armor out of purple Xian crystal. He had already forgotten what had happened in the grave. The green dragon had been killed by the black and white. The green dragon in the space ring should not be that dragon. Even if that's the case, the black and white were still inside his body, and they could still crush him. Thus, Longfei slowly relaxed from the Azure Dragon sacred ancestor's heart. The Azure Dragon sacred ancestral said, "Just having purple Xian crystal is not enough. I need a few things. They should be in the secret world in front." Longfei's eyes lit up and immediately shouted, "Dragon sword." Immediately, Longfei quickly rushed towards the secret world. In another place, the mountain range of immortal destiny. Holy Abyss Ruins only opens once a year. You must seize this opportunity. Do you understand? Saints Hill. In a huge secret room below the Saints' Temple. Each and every one of them were God's holy powerhouse. From a moment they had protected this place, they could only stay here for the rest of their lives and could not leave. They were also known as the guardians of the secret sect. 18 elders were floating in the air and sitting cross-legged. They had no expression on their faces and did not pay any attention to the Fatri sect disciples in the secret room. An elder said, "To you, this is your first chance to become a disciples of secret sect. Also, we will soon be seeing Gathering of Heroes' myriad sects Gathering of Heroes S. Mr. Celestial has received news that this time, Gathering of Heroes has placed special importance on the one who can obtain a good result. Perhaps God's tribe will set his eyes on you. You are all the youngest and most talented disciples of the Fatri sect. I hope that you can achieve a great breakthrough in your cultivation in the holy ruins. Do you understand?" Dozens of disciples in the secret room shouted in unison, "Understood." The elder continued, "When you enter the ruins, you must listen to the young sect master and the holy maiden's orders and must not act recklessly. There are great dangers in the ruins, and if you're a little bit careless, you won't be able to come back." Everyone looked at the holy maiden and young sect master. Zhou Yuan's face revealed a proud smile. The holy maiden's eyes were very calm, without the slightest ripple. Actually, this time, she didn't want to come as a secret cultivator, but when she found out that most of the newcomers to Holy Abyss Ruins were new this year, she agreed. Because she wanted to see Long Fei again. But Long Fei did not appear here. She felt a little down, but it was already impossible for her to leave at this time. Long Fei did not appear. She had an ominous premonition. As this year's Rookie King, Long Fei rewarded the Holy Abyss Ruins with a chance to cultivate, but he did not appear. As this year's Rookie King, Long Fei rewarded the Holy Abyss Ruins with a chance to cultivate, but he did not appear. Moreover, ever since Long Fei had left the Saints Hill with Xiang Halian, there had been no news of him. According to past conventions, Xiang Halian should be unrestrainedly promoting Long Fei's various inherent skills, but he did not manage to get even a single bit of information out. Until now, Long Fei was not on the list this time, which made her even more worried. Any other questions? The elder asked. Everyone shook their heads. At this time, Lame took a step forward and said, Elder, may I ask why Long Fei did not enter the ruins of immortality to cultivate? Su immediately added, he is this year's top scholar. The sect master has promised to reward Holy Abyss Ruins with an opportunity to cultivate. The two of them were also on the list for this secret training. Tandapeo did not come. What was unexpected was that Yang Jin, who did not have a good result in the newcomer assessment, also appeared in the crowd. Tandapeo did it because of his strength and his average talent. The most important thing was that he was a launcher, so there was no longer any room for him to use this profession. There is a very large distance between the peaks of the conclave of immortal destiny, and none of them had any news of Long Fei. They had originally thought that he would appear, but they did not. The elder did not speak. Zhou Yuan said coldly, all of you have been strictly selected, and just because they are not on the secret training list this time, it only means that they are not outstanding enough. The Holy Maiden lightly said, how can a newcomer's top scholar not be outstanding? Zhou Yuan laughed. That's hard to say. If he was outstanding enough, he wouldn't still be at the god's elephant state. It can be said that his cultivation is not qualified to participate in the secret training. He sneered in his heart. Only he wants to enter the Holy Abyss Ruins? I'm afraid I've already reported this to Yama. Young sect master is right. We are about the same age. His cultivation is indeed too low. So what if he becomes the top scorer? The realm of cultivation represents everything. That's right. He might even have gotten his top scholar through cheating. The realm is the way of the king, and I heard that he came from East Imperial City. That trash place was specially made for trash. Didn't Fatry Sect have a flower scout back then? It was from the East Imperial City. After so many years, the person who entered the Fatry Sect with him had long since broken through the Emperor realm. It can be seen how much trash the people of the East Imperial City are. I heard that too. Only the elites can participate in this secret training. Is he qualified to participate? Many people agreed with him. They belittled Long Fei in various ways because they wanted to get closer to him. What was Zhou Yuan's identity? Young sect master of Fatry Sect, and even more so, the #1 person in Fatry Sect. It was fine to have a good relationship with him in the Fatry Sect. It was clear that these words of belittling Long Fei were extremely enjoyable for him. He couldn't help but reveal a complacent smile. Su and Lan Mei wanted to explain. However, the elder did not give them the chance to speak and said, all right, if we don't state on the list that his qualifications are insufficient, then let's not discuss anymore. Remember my words. If you encounter any problems in the secret world, you must listen to the young sect master's orders. Let's begin. While they were talking, the elders looked at the 18 elders that were floating in the air and bowed. Defense Presbyter, you may begin. The eyes of the 18 people moved. A golden light burst out from their bodies as the 18 gods' holy powerhouse turned into 18 golden men. At the same time, he shouted, open. He merged his power into one of the mechanisms. Crack, rumble, rumble. A stone door appeared in the air in front of them. Everyone was stunned by this scene. Lan Mei and Su were the same. They, too, had shocked expressions. The stone door was so large that one could not see the top. It was as if it was a gate to heaven. The stone door slowly opened. From the crack of the door, a strong light wrapped around them. It was as if a divine light was enveloping them, making them feel indescribably comfortable. The power in his body also began to stir. Dense true spirit surged from all directions. Immortal realm. Is this the fairyland? It's too comfortable. Wow. I've never felt a breath of true spirit like this before. This is unbelievable. He had to say it. The moment the stone door opened, divine light enveloped it, and one's true soul began to churn. It was as if one had entered the realm of immortals. Even the elder was sitting cross-legged the moment he opened the door, doing his best to absorb the energy that surged out from inside. The Holy Abyss Ruins was the strongest pillar of support for the Fatri sect. This was also the reason why Fatri sect had never fallen for thousands and thousands of years. As long as Holy Abyss Ruins was around, its strength would not decline. Zhou Yuan smirked as he looked at the shocked expressions of the people around him. There was nothing left for him to be surprised about. Zhou Yuan said coldly, "Let's go, follow me into the Holy Ruins." He stepped into the Holy Abyss Ruins. The people behind followed closely. Looking at the huge whirlpool, it looked like a portal in a game. Long Fei did not think much and rushed in. Buzz! A buzzing sound rang out, and it seemed as if his eardrums were about to shatter, causing incomparable pain. At this time, a burst of blinding light blinded Long Fei, causing him to be unable to open his eyes. Buzz! A sword chime resounded as the sword intent descended. The Xinchalong sword immediately appeared in front of Long Fei. Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief. "Dragon sword, why did you follow me here? I'm so worried." The Xinchalong sword was moved. Long Fei looked around and asked, "Where's Chen Wanxiong?" His mission was to clear out the Black Wind stronghold. Since the chief wasn't dead, the mission definitely couldn't be counted as completed. The Xinchalong sword moved slightly and pointed not far away. Long Fei looked over and saw a gigantic pillar-like object soaring into the sky, but he didn't see anything special. Suddenly, the huge pillar suddenly moved and lifted. At this moment, rumble heavily stomped down. Immediately, the earth shook and the mountains shook. Long Fei couldn't even stand steadily, and his entire body was covered. What kind of monster is that? It was also at this time. "Help, help! Save me, save me." In the forest, Chen Wanxiong ran out of the house. This was the first time they had seen the Emperor Strongman in such a sorry state. Just as he rushed out of the forest, a huge pillar suddenly dropped down from the sky. Paji, Chen Wanxiong immediately turned into a pile of meat paste. Emperor Strongman was immediately stomped to death. Long Fei's scalp was tingling. F***CK. The heck? A lost world? He was still an Emperor Strongman after all, and yet he just stomped into mincemeat? He was still an Emperor Strongman after all, and yet he just stomped into mincemeat? Terrifying. The terror of an explosion. Long Fei's entire body trembled as he stood there in a daze, muttering to himself, What the F***CK is this world? Be careful. Just as Long Fei was closing in, a shadow descended above his head. It was also at this time. An old man holding a javelin quickly jumped out from the side and rolled over to the side while hugging Long Fei. Rumble, rumble. With a huge tremor, a meter-deep pit appeared at the place where Long Fei was standing just now. If not for the old man bringing Long Fei away, he probably would have become a pile of meat paste like Chen Wanxiong. F***CK. Long Fei raised his head to look, but it was impossible to see what was above him. How big was this fellow? It was too big to imagine. Young man, this place is very dangerous, the old man said with fear still lingering in his heart. He looked at the sky and watched as the foot that was as large as a pillar disappeared before letting out a heavy sigh. Long Fei hurriedly stood up when he saw the old man and said, "Thank you, senior." The elder laughed. "No need to thank me. The old man was covered in bee skin and was covered in black. His face was painted with several camouflage colors, and he held a javelin in his hand. He looked just like the barbarians of Blackwind Mountain. Long Fei asked, "Are you old chief?" The old man was surprised. "Have you seen Lisa?" Long Fei nodded his head. "She's the one who asked me to look for you." The old man wryly smiled and said, "This child." Long Fei said, "They were very worried about you and wanted me to rescue you out. Now that Chun Wanxiong and Archmage are both dead, you should quickly return." "The Archmage is also dead." The old chief was a little shocked. He looked at Long Fei seriously and said, "The cultivation level of this Archmage is not simple." Long Fei said, "I am not lying to you. He is indeed dead. Your tribe is safe now. Lisa and the others are waiting for you to return." There was still a day and a half left, and once the time was up, the system would determine the failure of the quest. Although there was no penalty for this quest, at least it was an S-rank quest with a special reward. The old chief laughed bitterly and said, "Do you think we can still go back?" Long Fei turned his head to look at the place where he came in from, and his heart tensed up. "Where's the exit?" "Nothing." Long Fei quickly walked forward, but still didn't see anything. He had obviously come from here, but now it was gone. Old chief said, "This place can only be entered. We cannot leave." Long Fei looked around and said, "That can't be. This should be a secret world. There should be exits, even if there is an entrance." The old chief said, "This secret world is not an ordinary secret world. It could be said to be a special plane. The area of this secret world is incomparably large, and the people who enter can say that they either die here or don't want to leave." Long Fei said slightly, "You mean the breath of true spirit?" The moment Long Fei had entered the place, he had noticed that the breath of true spirit was unusually dense, as if he could grab it with his bare hands. Long Fei had never felt such a strong breath of true spirit before. Cultivating in this sort of place could be said to be 1,000 miles a day, much faster than the outside world. The old chief said indifferently, "That's right. The breath of true spirit is more than 10 times richer than the outside. If any martial artist were to enter this kind of place, they would definitely not want to leave. Cultivating it required a large amount of breath of true spirit. With such a blessed land, who would want to leave? With such a dense amount of breath of true spirit most likely they would not even need to use elixirs." Long Fei slightly nodded his head and said, "Indeed, no one would want to leave such a place. However, no matter how good this place is, we cannot forget the relatives and friends of the people in the outside world. Not to mention this place is too dangerous." The old chief was a little surprised when he saw Long Fei and said, "You are right. If you stay in this place for too long, you will forget your original intentions. To extend one's lifespan, increase one's strength, and become an overlord, however, these are all for the better to protect the people around you." Old chief looked at Long Fei and said, "Do you really want to bring me out?" Long Fei said, "This is the reason why I came here. I must bring you out." Old chief said, "All right, then you can take a drop of its blood essence and open the gate to time and space. Leave from the place where I came from." While they were talking, Old chief looked at the sky. At the same time, the system sounded out, "Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering the hidden quest. Mission: obtain the blood essence of a heavenly beast. Level: assessed time, 1 day. Reward: 200 million experience points, 1 million true spiritual value. S-class special reward once. The power of creation's random lottery once." Note: mission failed. Level down. Long Fei stared at the mission for a moment. It's triggered the hidden quest in the S-class mission, and also, he looked at the task reward within the system. What's the S-level system's special reward? It has never appeared before. However, Long Fei saw from the S-class special system reward from the reshaping sword of War God. Quest: could it be some kind of super reward that could destroy the heavens and the earth? In addition to the S-class reward, there was also the power of creation. Nothing else. Just the power of creation was enough to make Long Fei salivate. "I don't care. Long Fei moved his body and said, "Accept." Ding. System prompt. Accept. Begin countdown. A countdown to the time of the mission appeared in Long Fei's mind. This mission only had a day, which meant that he would have to obtain the blood essence of a heavenly beast and hand it over to the old chief within a day. This was the completion of the mission. All right, Long Fei looked at old chief and said, "I'll help you." However, Long Fei looked at the sky. Right now, he couldn't even see the heavenly beast in front of him, so the difficulty of this mission could be imagined. The old chief said indifferently, "Young lad, don't be in such a rush to agree. Listen to me first. You want to take out the blood essence of the demon beast as a heavenly beast. I do not know what terrifying realm you are in now, but I have to clarify one thing. The power of the blood essence of a heavenly beast can only be used once a year to open a dimensional exit. Also, you can only let one person pass at a time. If you succeed in getting the blood essence for me, you might have to stay here for a year." Air. Long Fei was stunned. He immediately scolded in his heart, "System, damn you, why didn't you explain it to your father?" Now that the mission had been accepted, it was impossible for him to go back on his words. Long Fei looked at old chief and had no choice but to bite the bullet and fake a smile. "I'm fine if I stay a year longer than I already am. I'll definitely get some blood essence and send you out." His heart was bleeding. "A year? It's all here. Oh my God." Since he already accepted it, Long Fei didn't think too much about it. He had never regretted his decisions before. Even if he had known in advance that a drop of blood essence could only be sent to one person a year out of the secret world, he would have accepted it. Because of the mission, because of the reward, he couldn't give up. This was not just one mission, but two. Then again, with such a dense breath of true spirit of the secret world, cultivating for a year here was considered to be a good place. Even if there were no demon beasts to kill, cultivating for a year in ordinary mode would already be profitable. The old chief looked at Long Fei and said, "All right, if you really can get the blood essence and send me out, I will give you some special things as repayment." Long Fei said, "Old chief, first tell me about the heavenly beasts." Old chief said, "Just now you saw that the pillar-like leg is the leg of a heavenly beast." Long Fei swallowed his saliva. He was mentally prepared, but he was still a little shocked. How big was the foot of that huge pillar? To obtain its blood essence, SS-level missions were not that difficult. Luckily, it was just a little bit of essence blood. If it was killed, then the SSS-level mission would probably be more than that, right? The old chief continued, "Our Black Wind clan's ancestor has been here since the beginning, and the heavenly beast was said to have entered from another world. It is also said to have been imprisoned here, and there are also legends that it came here from the ancient world. I really don't know. Heavenly beast, a demon beast produced by the heavens. It is extremely powerful, and if one wants to obtain its blood essence, they must climb up to the top of its head. Only the blood essence on top of its head has the ability to open the gate of time and space." Speaking to here, the old chief couldn't help but look at Long Fei and say, "If you think it's difficult, it's not difficult. It's not difficult at all." Long Fei shook his head. Continue. Long Fei wanted to cry in his heart. Obtaining blood essence from the top of his head was 10,000 times more difficult than pulling out a tooth from tiger. This was simply courting death. Old chief said, "Normally, it is very docile, but when someone runs over to its head, it becomes furious and becomes uncontrollable." Long Fei's forehead was covered in black lines. The amount of noodles put together was more than enough. Old chief said, "Its blood essence is also known as heavenly blood, and every drop of blood essence is the heavenly beast essence. He will go berserk at that time." Old chief did not continue and looked weakly at Long Fei. Long Fei's heart was already bleeding, and there was even a handful of salt on it. "Damn you. System Grandpa, I'll have to trouble you to explain the description of the quest in the future. If you want to kill me, just say it. No need to beat around the bush." The Xinchalong sword used the voice transmission technique to say, "Master, That guy is too strong. It is not a fellow from the ancient world. Long Fei said, "Can you fly up?" The Xinchalong's sword hesitated for a moment and said, "I alone should be able to do it, but I'm afraid not." Humph! Long Fei exhaled and said, "Old chief, you just wait here. Don't go too far away. I'll go get your blood essence." Finished. The idea moved and said, "Dragon sword, first fly to the sky and see how big this guy is." The Xinchalong's sword moved and quickly flew out. Long Fei looked in the direction in which the giant pillar leg had disappeared and quickly dashed out. "All right, we're here." As Zhou Yuan's voice fell, he said, "All of you cultivate here. Remember one thing. You cannot leave this place, understand?" Dozens of disciples walked into the holy abyss ruins. Inside, there was a place the size of a basketball court. On the ground, there were carvings of all sorts of runes, and the power of the rune formed a boundary, wrapping this place up. He couldn't see the outside clearly, but the breath of true spirit here was extremely dense, 5 to 6 times more so than the Saint's Hill. It's too rich. So this is the holy ruins? Training here for one day is equivalent to training outside for a month, right? Don't miss it. Let's hurry up and train. Everyone was excited and quickly sat down cross-legged. To them, they couldn't miss even a second. Zhou Yuan walked over to Xianyuan Li'er's side and said, "Little sister Li, look after them from here." Xianyuan Li'er said lightly, "What about you?" Zhou Yuan looked deep into the secret world and said, "I have other things to do. Do not worry about me." Xianyuan Li'er said, "I heard that Holy Abyss Ruins is extremely dangerous. Senior brother must be careful." Zhou Yuan smiled faintly. His heart was filled with joy, and he wanted to take a step forward. But Xianyuan Li'er took a step back intentionally or not. Zhou Yuan laughed. "Don't worry, I will take good care of myself. This time I will definitely break through Sky Saint level 6. Finished. Zhou Yuan turned around, and the expression in his eyes darkened slightly. He was slightly unhappy that Xianyuan Li'er took a step back, as it was something that Xianyuan Li'er would never have done before. It was that person called Long Fei. Zhou Yuan's heart turned sinister, and he sneered. "You're already dead, right? You dog." A trace of a demonic intent flashed in his eyes. Zhou Yuan's figure moved and disappeared within the boundary. Su Su said softly, "Sister Lan Mei, that young sect master is missing." Lan Mei nodded his head. "Don't worry about it. We will use this time to cultivate." "Oh," Su Su replied. Everyone was completely immersed in their cultivation. No one cared about what the people around them were doing. They only wanted to absorb the breath of true spirit to cultivate. Thus, after Zhou Yuan disappeared for half an hour, Yang Jin also slowly opened his eyes. Like a ghost, his body gently moved and suddenly disappeared. Rumble! A huge foot fell. Long Fei's eyes moved, snapshot step. Shua! He carried a dark red breath of true spirit with him, and turned into a dark red-colored thread, swiftly rushing to the foot of the huge pillar and climbing up it. Long Fei climbed up to the layer of clouds and looked up. He still could not see the head of the sky beast. His mind stirred. "Let's try it out here first." As the heavy sword fell, Long Fei's sword intent surged. The power of the 9th level of Celestial Phenomenon Ascendant fully unleashed, slashing down with his sword. Buzz! Crack! The mouth of the tiger became numb, and the heavy sword almost fell off. This wasn't really anything. The most important thing was, the heavy sword in Long Fei's hand was currently breaking apart. This was the sword that Elder Swordsman had given him, and the sword weighed more than 50,000 kilograms. The material of this sword was also extremely precious. However, it actually cracked. Countless cracks appeared on the surface of the sword. If he chopped out another sword strike, this heavy sword would completely shatter. However, even if the sword was broken, the heavenly beast skin was still totally undamaged. Not even a scratch could be seen. Just how powerful was this fellow's defense? It was hard to imagine. Long Fei's forehead started sweating profusely. Unbelievable, truly unbelievable. I've never seen this kind of guy before, and I'm done for. Just what the F asterisk CK is this boss? The sword that the elder swordsman gave Long Fei, although it did not look like much, was in reality a divine weapon. The sword that the elder swordsman gave Long Fei, although it did not look like much, was in reality a divine weapon. However, under the attack of such a heavenly treasure, it did not harm the heavenly beast, but had instead injured the sword in his hands, and he was no longer able to use it. This fellow was unimaginably terrifying. I can't see the boss golden light, so I don't know what level it is. However, the higher the level, the more excited I get. Long Fei's gaze became even more determined, looked at the sky, and once again quickly climbed. In the secret world, somewhere, Zhou Yuan's eyes moved, his eyes filled with traces of dark red blood. Biting down on his index finger, Zhou Yuan's voice sunk. The blood essence is the guide, the sword beast. Come out. The drop of refined blood landed on the ground as numerous symbols spread out. Roar. With a roar, his head was dripping with blood, as if he had just crawled out of a pool of blood. His head was shaped like a sword, but it was actually a magical beast that had come roaring out of the rune. The corner of Zhou Yuan's mouth hooked up into a smile. It's been a long time since I've let you out. Go, let's wreak havoc as much as we want. Roar. The sword beast roared, transforming into a ball of blood-red lightning and directly charging into the dense forest. Next, a series of explosions resounded as tens of thousands of devil fire sword lights shot into the sky. The sword chopped down. A 30,000-meter-tall mountain that was slashed into two was like a monster that could destroy the heavens and earth. Zhou Yuan laughed complacently and laughed sinisterly. After a long time, Zhou Yuan said lightly, "Come back." The blood-colored sword beast instantly landed. Zhou Yuan took a step forward, looked at the sky, and said, "To the blood of the heavenly beasts." His purpose for entering Holy Abyss ruins this time was to obtain the heavenly beast blood, and as long as he fused with this blood essence, his cultivation would increase by another level, and he would be able to break through his bottleneck. This time, I'm definitely going to win against the gathering of heroes of the 10,000 sections. It doesn't matter if you're a demon or an immortal, as long as I can take first place. The sky sect of Ling Clan's gate will always open for me. When I become a descendant of God's tribe, at that time, will Sisterly still obediently stay by my side? Ha ha! Zhou Yuan laughed wildly. His figure disappeared. As expected, Yang Jin poked his head out from a towering tree and muttered, "Zhou Yuan is indeed a demonic cultivator. The devil aura on his body is about to reach an uncontrollable extent. Even swords and magical beasts can be summoned." Yang Jin locked the space between his brows. And then, the corner of Yang Jin's mouth slightly curled up, revealing a dark and cold smile. This is even better. Then, Yang Jin's body slowly disappeared into the trees, and his figure also disappeared. After 4 whole hours, Long Fei was about to collapse from exhaustion. Finally, he climbed onto the back of the heavenly beast. What was unexpected was that he thought it was the back of an ordinary demon beast, but not at all. On his back was a huge forest, and in the distance, golden light flashed above his head. Whoosh! The Xinchalong sword descended and said, "Master, I flew around him once and fought even more than I imagined." And according to the old chief, his blood essence was right above his head. Did you see that golden thing? It's a golden bell. Long Fei was secretly surprised. Head with a golden bell? What does that mean? The Xinchalong sword said, "I don't know either, but I seem to have heard someone mention it before. I just can't remember who it is." Long Fei said, "Forget it. The mission is more important." Since he was already here, he didn't care about all that. Just as Long Fei was about to charge towards the top of the heavenly beast's head, 100,000 meters long demonic light suddenly burst forth, its scarlet demonic flame dyeing half the sky red. Long Fei's eyes became tight. Zhou Yuan? Long Fei's eyes darkened. He never thought that Zhou Yuan would appear here. Moreover, the boundless devil flame was released from his body. Standing at his feet was a blood-colored sword beast. There was no longer any immortal energy on his body. He was just a demon dweller. It seems like ancient deviltry is right. The divine sword intent he cultivates is the demonic way. Long Fei's heart quivered for a moment, then asked, "What is he doing here?" Logically speaking, he shouldn't be able to come in. This was the secret world. Not just anyone could enter. However, Long Fei suddenly thought of Fatry Sect's strongest reliance. Holy Abyss Ruins? Could this secret world be the Holy Abyss Ruins? Then, Su, are Lan Mei and the others here? The Xinchalong's sword said, "Master, the devilish flame on that person's body is very strong. Should we—" Long Fei recovered his expression and said, "Let's see what he wants to do first. Heavenly Beast, I'll give you a chance to live. Give me 10 points of your blood essence, and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll make you disappear from this world forever." Zhou Yuan was extremely arrogant. He was not scared by the sheer size of the heavenly beast, but was rather calm. Actually, this was not the first time he had seen this heavenly beast. This was not the first time the heavenly beast had seen him. Its eyes darkened, and it looked as though flames were spewing from them. He was instantly enraged. He seemed to have a grudge against Zhou Yuan. Zhou Yuan sneered and said, "Seems like you are very angry. Good. Today, I will drain your blood essence." As soon as he finished speaking, the 30 meters of demonic light around Zhou Yuan instantly turned into sword intent. The sword beast also instantly turned into a sword dripping with blood. Zhou Yuan's figure moved. The sword intent soared to the sky, while the blood-red light shot up to the sky. Path of the Demon. Sword Demon Mi Tian. Boom! Originally, the sky had been blood-red for only half a day. However, as soon as he used his sword skill, the entire sky was covered in a blood red. The sword slashed out. Just like that, a layer of sky came crashing down. Long Fei was overwhelmed with shock. So powerful. It was several levels stronger than the last time he saw it in Dark Magic Forest. The Path of Demon was his true strength. At that time, there would be people from the Fatry sect everywhere, and there would be many big shots from the Fatry sect watching. If he were to completely release the devil in his heart, everyone would know that he was a devil cultivator and that he would not be able to stand up when that time came in the Fatry sect. Even his father, Mr. Celestial, would not be able to save him. But here, no one would see. He could release it to his heart's content. Long Fei was shocked by his power. Without the system to rely on, he would not be able to withstand a single blow. After all, the difference in levels was simply too great. Long Fei could not help but clench his fists. Roar! The heavenly beast let out a roar. Its huge body was extremely agile. It swung its huge tail, walala, walala. The sound of space shattering sounded out one after another. Beneath the huge tail was darkness. Boom! The huge tail was flung into the air. Buzz! The scarlet sword intents collided with each other. The world began to tremble violently. The heavenly beasts retreated frantically. Zhou Yuan stopped in his tracks, laughed coldly, and said, "Do you think I'm still the same as I was 1 year ago? On the other hand, you have not improved at all in the past year. It seems like you won't be able to improve. This is even better. I shall end your life." Sword Beast, roar! The sword released a roar. Its speed suddenly changed, and immediately bringing Zhou Yuan into the sky. Its entire person looked as though it was about to rush out of the atmosphere. Seeing that, Long Fei secretly thought, "Damn it." This move made him think of the divine way sword intent Zhou Yuan had used in the Dark Magic Forest. It was just that this move had been hidden, but it had now completely exploded out. The true Devil Dao sword intent. With a thought, he soared into the sky. A sword slashed out. Long Fei had a feeling that the heavenly beast would not be able to block this attack. Not only was it the heavenly beast, even Long Fei, who was on the heavenly beast's back, was in extreme danger. Path of the Demon. Devil annihilation. There was a thunderous explosion in the sky as the demonic flames of the ninth heaven began to burn, crushing everything in their path. This strike, too savage. Long Fei had never seen such a powerful devil flame. The heavenly beast let out a roar. His body also shook for a while, but he did not retreat. His two huge eyes looked up at the sky, and the aura of power around his body surged, bursting forth. Boom! Boom! Streams of power visible to the naked eye. This was an extremely strange aura of power. The two forces collided. Then, an earth-shattering explosion resounded. The entire ruins of immortal destiny began to shake as the shockwaves spread out for 100,000 miles. The towering trees were instantly turned into dust. It was as if the apocalypse had arrived. The Boundary disciples who were cultivating felt huge fluctuations from it. Boundary started to shake violently, one ring after another. It seemed as if he couldn't bear it any longer. At the same time, the rich breath of true spirit was also in chaos. What is that sound? What happened? Why is there such a loud noise? The true spirit became chaotic and could no longer be absorbed. Everyone stood up and looked outside the Boundary. A disciple reached out his hand to touch Boundary. Bam! His body was struck away by an extremely strong force from the Boundary. Flying tens of meters away, he spat out a mouthful of blood, his face extremely pale. Xinyuan Lier quickly said, "Don't touch the Boundary. Stay away from them all." Su Su released the cure, controlling the disciple's injuries. "Thank you, junior sister." Lan Mei warned in a low voice. "Yang Jin is also gone." Su Su muttered, "What's going on? How could he suddenly have such a huge impact in his cultivation? And the true spirit is filled with dense, demonic energy. Could it be that a Devil Dao person has entered the secret world?" Su Su's sensing ability was different from ordinary warriors. She could sense many special elements within the breath of true spirit. Lan Mei shook his head and said, "I don't know, but I feel like the Boundary can't hold on much longer. So, hide behind me later." Buzz, buzz, buzz. The ripples on the Boundary grew stronger and stronger as it unceasingly stirred. The shaking of the Boundary became more intense. The defensive power of the Boundary also began to show signs of being unable to endure anymore. Crack! Suddenly, a crack appeared on the Boundary. Xinyuan Lier quickly ran over and said, "Everyone, back off." The gigantic power of true spirit in his body surged to block the attack. Crack! Boom! Not far away, the sound of a Boundary collapsing could be heard. Xinyuan Lier's figure moved, and another wave of strength filled the gap. Kacha, kacha! The Boundary continued to crack, while Xinyuan Lier continued to move. Her consumption of true spirit was huge, and the disciples behind her were also panicking. Why is this happening? Will we die? Isn't Holy Abyss Ruins very safe? Miss Holy Maiden, just what happened? Xinyuan Lier simply did not have the time to reply, and she did not know what had happened either. Kacha! Walala! Boundary had exploded. This time, it was as if the sky was split open. A powerful shock wave swept in. The disciples were extremely scared. Their faces turned pale. Lan Mei took a step forward, and the vein of blue water's power surged. Su Su bellowed, "What are you people standing around in a daze for? Hurry up and help us." Xinyuan Lier nodded at the two of them to express his thanks. Everyone reacted and also rushed forward, releasing their true spirits. However, the strength of the shockwave was too strong. One wave after another. Their Boundary was like a broken umbrella, unable to hold on for long in the torrential storm. 10 minutes later, the Boundary was surrounded by cracks that were dozens of meters long, and following that, there was an explosive sound, rumble. The entire Boundary had collapsed. A powerful shock wave swept over. Everyone, including Xinyuan Lier, were sent flying by the shock wave. They flew more than 10 meters away before hitting the rocks. Everyone's faces turned pale. Su Su quickly stood up and released cure one after another. The Boundary had broken down, and they were now truly in the holy abyss ruins. Slowly, many people stood up and looked into the distance. This was no fairyland, but a hell of an immortal ruins. All kinds of huge buildings were collapsing, mountains were collapsing, and even the bones of beasts were bigger than mountains. This is the holy ruins? Xinyuan Lier was also slightly shocked. It was not her first time entering the immortal destiny holy ruins, but she had never known what kind of place was outside a boundary. When she saw it this time, her heart shook greatly as well. Lame looked at a pile of bones within the clouds and asked, "What kind of world is this exactly? The boundary is broken. We don't know what's going on outside, so I'm afraid we won't be able to get out for a while. Why don't we go in and take a look? Maybe there's some ancient immortal treasure here?" "You're right. Since you're already here, you can't possibly go back empty-handed, right?" "Yes." The scene in front of their eyes was shocking and equally exciting. If this was an immortal realm world left behind from the ancient times, then would there be a secret treasure of the ancient era here? Maybe if he found one, he would be able to soar into the sky. Su was extremely interested in secret treasures and adventures, so he immediately said in high spirits, "Sister Lanmei, let's go as well, hee." Lanmei looked at Xinyuan Lier and said, "Miss Holy Maiden, I'll listen to you with everything here. Please speak." Xinyuan Lier was also extremely curious and said, "All right, then let's go in and take a look, but don't mess around. If we miss the time to leave, we won't be able to get out." Everyone nodded in excitement. Xinyuan Lier led everyone and stepped into the holy ruins. In the distance, Zhou Yuan was wrapped up by a ball of demonic red flame, and looking at the dying heavenly beast that was covered in sword wounds, he sneered, "I never thought that you could withstand one of my strikes, but the next strike, I want your dog life." The Devil Dao sword intent was too strong. The Devil Dao sword intent was too strong. The demonic flames of the ninth heavenly layer were overwhelming, and the heavenly beast could not withstand it. There was blood all over his body, and it left only a tiny bit of blood on the top of his head. If another sword struck, he would undoubtedly die. Earlier, when Long Fei felt the devilish fire from the ninth heaven on his back, Long Fei's mind was extremely cold. If this strike was his, "I can't block it. I can't block at all." Long Fei could not think of a way to withstand this sword strike. There was no way at all. This was not only a difference in levels, but also in strength. Zhou Yuan was much stronger than he imagined. The number one genius of the factory sect was not bragging, nor was it because of his father's identity, but because he possessed absolute power. It didn't matter if he was a demonic cultivator or an immortal cultivator. Strength was everything. "Awoo!" The heavenly beast let out a painful cry, its mouth full of blood. Zhou Yuan laughed crazily and said, "Requesting help? Who in the ruins of immortality can save you? Who can save you?" "Ha!" Zhou Yuan was extremely proud. The sword beast in his hands also released streaks of scarlet light, and the sword intent on his body surged once again. Buzz! A sword intent string stripe shot out. Zhou Yuan laughed. "Die!" "Awoo!" Another miserable howl rang out, causing those who heard it to feel pain in their hearts. Right at that moment, the gold bell above the head of the heavenly beast vibrated. Clang! Clang! Wong clang dang! Wong clang dang! Wong! The bell rang. Zhou Yuan slightly paused. Star Domain bell. It actually rang? It's really strange. This is the first time I've seen such a bell ring since I've come in so many times. However, so what? Even if your star domain bell breaks, no one will come to save you. The bell rang. The sound was the same as in the ordinary temple. There weren't any special sound waves, but in that moment, Long Fei's head felt like it was splitting apart. Long Fei's hands exploded their way through his head in incomparable pain. An incomparably old voice sounded out in his head. "Save me, save me, save me." It was as if an elderly, sickly old man was begging for help. That sound nearly caused Long Fei's head to explode. It was extremely uncomfortable. The Xinchalong sword was incomparably anxious and said, "Master, master, what's wrong? Master, master." He did not hear the cry for help. In the entire Holy Abyss ruins, other than Long Fei, no one else heard the sky beast cry for help. Xin Yuan, Li Er, and the others only heard the sound of the bell, not the cry for help. Ah! Ah! Long Fei was in incomparable pain as he roared, "Get out! Get out! Get out of my mind! Ah! Save me! Save me!" The elderly voice was still resounding. Long Fei's head also seemed to have exploded. He couldn't control it at all. He was also completely unable to stop the old voice as it echoed in his mind. Finally, Long Fei could only say, "How do you want me to save you? What can I use to save you?" However, the old voice did not say how it could save him, but it continued to cry for help. "Save me! Save me!" It was maddening. Long Fei was about to go berserk. This feeling like his head was about to explode was too unbearable. Looking at the sky, the demon flames, sword chi, slashed down. Gritting his teeth, he let out a hysterical roar. Ah! Boom! His right fist sank. Nearly 10 million points of true spiritual value surged. Moreover, another wave of universal soul's power overlaid each other. Ah! 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 Big Master Guard arm. Crack! Clenched his right hand tightly. The power of the universal soul superimposed over it as he leapt into the air with a single step. He punched at Zhou Yuan. Boom! 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 The wind from his punch was like thunder. They went berserk the entire way. Zhou Yuan looked down from above, seeing Long Fei who was flying in the sky. His eyes turned sinister. He's not dead yet. Now, the killing intent was even stronger. The devil fire moved. The blood-colored sword beast let out a fierce roar. Path of the demon. Annihilation. Let's die together. Zhou Yuan's pupils turned dark red, and the demonic aura around his body turned black from red. It became even more ferocious than before. He would never give the enemy the slightest leeway. The incomparably powerful devil path, sword intent attacked with the might of the nine heavens. Long Fei also went berserk. His head felt like it was about to explode. He couldn't take it anymore. The moment they came into contact, the statue's power was released. Boom! However, as soon as he released his power, it was immediately crushed by the devil flames on Zhou Yuan's body. The power of the Black Wind statue could be reduced by 30%, but it depended on who it was. The restricted powers of holy artifact, like Zhou Yuan, who was a super powerhouse of the god's holy state, were completely useless. At a time like this, Long Fei only had one choice. He was going all out. When everything became useless, the only thing left to do was to fight for one's life. Long Fei secretly thought in his heart, "Big Master Guard arm, display your true strength." Roar! 18 ancient giant demons roar. Amongst the 18 fragments, there was a giant demon on every piece of seal. Following the furious roar in Long Fei's heart, the giant demon inside the Big Master Guard arm slightly opened his eyes. Roar! A roar. Then the two forces clashed. Rumble! 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 The sky seemed to split open as streams of super strong energy shot out, as if billions of arrows were being shot out. Within a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers, everything caved in, and the sky caved in and out. It was abnormally fierce. It was also at this time that Long Fei floated down from the sky, like a kite with its string cut, with blood hanging from the corner of his mouth. His face was pale white, and the Big Master Guard arm on his right arm was also hidden. There was a smile on his face. In another place, the sword beast on Zhou Yuan's right hand directly shattered into pieces. The dark devil energy on his body continuously dispersed, and even the devil fire within the 9-story heaven was dissipating. He was sent flying as well. He felt extremely displeased. Long Fei's punch had shattered all the devil flames on his body. Since he had fallen into the path of demon, there had never been a person who could make him so unhappy. No one was his match, but now, the devil fire on his body shattered. His devil sword also shattered, even though Demon Heart was still here, but how could he be so arrogant as to have his devil flames shattered by a low-level god's elephant state warrior? Anger flared up in his eyes. You dog. After locking onto Long Fei, who was falling down from mid-air, the killing intent in Zhou Yuan's eyes was extremely dense. I want you dead. His speed changed. At this moment, in the distance. Isn't that the young master? Miss Holy Maiden, its young sect leader. Zhou Yuan's expression sank, and he pondered for a bit. Looking at Long Fei, who had fallen into the depths of the forest, he said solemnly, "Count yourself lucky." Zhou Yuan stopped. Zhou Yuan stopped. It was not because he was holding back his killing intent, but because Xinyuan Lier was about to arrive. Moreover, even though the devil fire on his body had been shattered, it did not dissipate completely. He had to control it quickly, or else the devil intent would not be able to hide anywhere from Xinyuan Lier. Xinyuan Lier was incomparably important to him. It was fine for Long Fei to kill him anytime. He wasn't in a hurry. Huff! Zhou Yuan's aura quickly withdrew, and he controlled the killing intent in his heart. Half a minute later, he floated down from the sky, looking extremely elegant. Everyone immediately rushed forward. Young Sect Master. Young Sect Master. Zhou Yuan was sure that he did not have any devil intent on him, and revealed a faint smile as he walked in front of Xinyuan Lier and asked, "Why are you guys here?" Xinyuan Lier looked into the distance and said, "The boundary was shattered by a powerful force. We came out to find you." Su couldn't help but interject. "Young Sect Master, who was the other person that fell from the sky just now? Why do I feel that it looks a little familiar?" Lan Mei also looked at Zhou Yuan seriously. Zhou Yuan smiled faintly and said, "Little sisterly, I already told you not to worry about me. I am a Heavenly Saint Realm powerhouse. How many people in Western regions can possibly hurt me?" Xinyuan Lier was also curious. "Who was that person just now?" Zhou Yuan said, "He is a demonic cultivator, but do not worry, I have already killed him." Su immediately asked, "Demonic cultivator expert? Is it powerful?" Zhou Yuan said, "Average, God's holy state, was only killed by me in my 8th move." Wow, the young schoolhead is so powerful. It took 8 moves for a powerhouse of the God's holy state to kill it. It's just too powerful. That's for sure. And this is under the condition that young Sect Master does not have enlargement stroke. If it was enlargement stroke, then a sword intent from the divine way would be able to take his life. The #1 genius of Western regions. The surrounding people could not wait to lick Zhou Yuan's shoes, and they continuously praised him. Su suddenly said, "I have to go take a look at the powerful demonic cultivators here." Finished. Su suddenly rushed out. Zhou Yuan's gaze tightened, and his figure instantly appeared in front of Su as he said, "Junior sister, what is there to look at Devil Dao Powerhouse S for? Furthermore, they have already been killed by me beyond recognition. It's not good to be scared of you." Su laughed heartily. "Who cares if he's completely unrecognizable? I just want to see what a devil powerhouse is like. I don't even care about his face." Lan Mei followed. "That's right, Brother Zhou. Please bring us to take a look. We are also curious." Everyone could not help but look at Zhou Yuan. Zhou Yuan frowned slightly. Right at this moment, rumble, rumble, a gigantic stone pillar came crashing down from the sky. Zhou Yuan immediately shouted out, "Sky Beast, quick! Run! Return to Boundary." Everyone's face changed. Well, had they ever seen such a huge demon beast? 1 foot was even bigger than a mountain. Was he still going to live? At this time, he didn't want to see any devil expert, so escaping was more important. Su was a little disappointed. However, at this moment, she didn't insist. Then, Zhou Yuan quickly ran back to the original position of Boundary. Zhou Yuan also looked behind him from time to time. He was not sure if Long Fei was dead after that sword strike, and his intuition told him that Long Fei was not dead. However, even if he did not die, and there was no exit within this immortal abyss secret world, he could only die here. There was nothing to be done. Even if Long Fei came out, As long as he dared to appear in Fatry's sect, he still had all sorts of methods to kill him. One had to know the Fatry sect was his territory. On the way, without anyone noticing, Yang Jin entered the crowd. There did not seem to be any changes, but it was just that. However, in his heart, he thought that Long Fei had truly never expected that he would actually be able to withstand the destructive power of the Devil Dao. Even if we can't withstand it, I'm afraid we won't be able to survive, right? He was the only witness. Punch against slash. He would never forget that scene for the rest of his life. It was too shocking. Yang Jin secretly thought, that's fine too. If Fatry sect had another genius like Long Fei, then it would take less than 100 years for Fatry sect to dominate the entire western regions. Boom, boom, boom. The heavenly beast charged towards the deepest part of the ruins. Long Fei's breathing became erratic. The Xinchalong's sword at his side was incomparably anxious. At this moment, it was useless even if the spring of life in his mind continuously released his life force. Long Fei's health point did not increase at all and could not completely absorb it. Drinking medicine was completely useless. Not only that, Long Fei's entire body was almost shattered. Every inch of his skin, every inch of his bones, and even every strand of hair that was lightly touched would shatter in a fine powder. He had used his life to withstand the attack of the fiend god body. He had survived, but his life, his true spiritual value had all been used up. The health points were insignificant as well, as they constantly fell, with no one being able to save them. The old chief standing at the side and said, "It's all my fault. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't be like this right now, Sai." Deep self-blame. The Xinchalong's sword continued to call out, "Master, master, master." Long Fei was like a dead person. He didn't even have consciousness. At this point, they could only hear the heavenly beasts running frantically. The Xinchalong's sword released a huge sword intent and roared loudly. It was you. Who made Master block this sword attack for you? It's good now. Master must have become like this. It's you. Ah. The Xinchalong's sword furiously slashed down. The heavenly beast did not care about the Xinchalong's sword. He just kept on running. As he ran, the entire ruins of immortality began to shake. Half an hour later, after running for millions of kilometers, they had also reached the border point of the Holy Abyss ruins. They had reached the end of the line. Here, they were secret world-s of the secret world and had never been here before. Moreover, strangely, at the end of secret world was not a wall, nor was it a boundary. Instead, it was an incomparably resplendent starry sky. Old Chief slowly stood up, looked at the starlight that filled the sky, and muttered, "Where is this place? Could it be? Is this secret world really an independent plane? Why would there be a star field? Could it be? Is this the sea of stars?" Old Chief did not understand. Looking at the endless sea of stars, he couldn't figure it out. However, right now, no matter if it was the star region or the sea of stars, all he wanted to do was to save Long Fei. He only saw the heavenly beast's tail swept out, engulfing Long Fei's body. Then, his four limbs knelt on the ground, and his incomparably long tail brought along Long Fei's body and slowly brought his body into the sea of stars. The stars in the sky were like the ocean. The stars in the sky were like the ocean. Long Fei was swept up by the heavenly beast's tail and thrown into the sky of stars. The Xinchalong's sword followed him, but when Long Fei's body entered the stars, he was unable to enter as he was blocked by a layer of strong power. It was like two different worlds. The Xinchalong's sword did its best, but it was still useless, since he could not stay by Long Fei's side. The Xinchalong's sword suddenly turned around and flew in front of the heavenly beast. "Speak!" Old Chief was startled. "My God, the sword can actually talk." The heavenly beast roared. His gaze looked towards Long Fei, who was within the stars. His eyes carried respect and gratitude as he looked at Long Fei with shimmering eyes. If the Xinchalong's sword could feel even the tiniest bit of killing intent from the heavenly beast, he would use all his might to kill it, but he did not. Moreover, Long Fei's body quietly floated above the sea of stars. He did not receive any attack, nor did he disappear, and only quietly laid there without moving. At this moment, the spring of life was incomparably anxious, and powerful energy continuously flowed into Long Fei's body. But Long Fei's body did not receive not a single bit of it. His body seemed to be in a state of isolation. All external forces were resisted. The spring of life panicked and said, "What do we do? What should he do? Master's body is completely still now. Even my power can't enter. What do we do now?" Roar. The ancient devil tree screamed. "Brother Quan, what's the situation? Could they still harm their master? Even you can't save him?" The azure dragon ancestor frowned and said, "The power behind that sword attack was too tyrannical. If you were to touch it, he would probably shatter into pieces. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have called him into the secret world." The azure dragon's sacred ancestor didn't have any other choice. Seeing Long Fei's situation, he felt very guilty in his heart. Right now, all of the Long Fei's muscles and veins were broken. All the bones in his body were broken. It could be said that his body had already collapsed and could not withstand any outside force at all. Boom! Boom! In the other space ring, the enormous stone coffin began to lightly tremble, and a series of rumbling roars came out from within, as if it was angry. The azure dragon ancestor's forehead tightened. "I'm sorry, it was my fault." The azure dragon ancestor seemed to understand what the sound coming from the coffin meant. Boom! Boom! There were two more booms from the coffin. The azure dragon saint ancestor's body suddenly began to tremble. He twisted his body, and his entire body kneeled on the ground. The azure dragon's sacred ancient knelt down. If Long Fei saw this, he would definitely be shocked. What kind of haughty and proud existence was a dragon? You want him to kneel? Unless it was someone he respected the most, or someone he was extremely afraid of, it was clear that it was the latter. The azure dragon sacred ancestor's voice slightly trembled. He was afraid. The person in the sarcophagus was especially terrifying. He was incomparably afraid. Because of this, he was so frightened by the two voices within the coffin that he knelt on the ground. Boom! The inside of the coffin rumbled, and it was as if the azure dragon ancestor received an amnesty. His entire body was covered with green sweat as he madly surged down. Then, the huge sarcophagus rumbled once more. At the same time, another boom echoed out from within the coffin. From within the dragon-shaped mark, a black and white voice rang out and said indifferently, "Don't worry, he should be in a small-scale starfield microcosm right now. His body is destroyed, but from the looks of it, this star beast seems to be saving him and helping him rebuild his body." The entire audience went silent. The black and white runes underneath the dragon-shaped rune were silent for a long time. Moreover, the power that came from his tone and the way he spoke was extremely familiar to them, especially the ancient devil tree. Even though it was only a small bud right now, it suddenly trembled at this moment. "Master, little Moo, I'm no longer your master. I'm just a strand of power from my previous life. Your new master is Long Fei." I failed. The ancient devil tree was extremely excited, to the point where she could not even speak. "Master, Black and White said faintly, "The past is all in the past now. I'm also serving this guy now. I hope that he can succeed. Maybe only he can succeed." Along the way, the things that Long Fei faced, the way he conducted himself, were all very different from his. For example, regarding the matter with saving the heavenly beast, if he knew that he was not Zhou Yuan's match, he would definitely not take action. But Long Fei had made his move, and he was going to fight with his life. In this sort of situation, he was very likely to die. Black and White wanted to stop him, but he knew that Long Fei was not him. He might fail because of his persuasion. Thus, for a long time, he kept silent and kept quiet. Right now, Long Fei's entire body was severely injured and his flesh body was destroyed, but he did not die, and it was also because he saved the heavenly beast that the heavenly beast brought him to this mysterious star region. This star field is even more powerful than the ancient world. This was something he had never experienced before. it was also something that he could not hope to accomplish. This was perhaps the difference between him and Long Fei. Perhaps it was because he had once failed. The sarcophagus quieted down. The azure dragon's sacred ancient's entire body relaxed. The spring of life and the ancient devil tree also relaxed. They were quietly waiting. Looking at Long Fei's body that was quietly floating in the air, he secretly thought in his heart, "Brat, I failed. I hope that you can succeed, because this is your only chance. If you fail as well, then..." Black and White did not continue. They did not have the courage to continue, because the price for failure was too big. Oh, oh, oh. Suddenly, the heavenly beast let out a sound, and the gold bell above his head rang out softly, as if it was trying to summon something. Buzz. 1 hit. Buzz. 2. Buzz. 3 times. The bell kept ringing until it rang 99 times. It was also at this time the dazzling lights that were like diamonds that were being emitted from the sea of stars converged bit by bit, and like a fluorescent light, entered Long Fei's body little by little. With every bit of starlight that entered Long Fei's body, there would be a little less starlight in the sea of stars. With every bit of starlight that entered Long Fei's body, there would be a little less starlight in the sea of stars. This scene, it was like a miracle had happened, an indescribable shock. The Xinchalong sword was dumbfounded. Old Chief was also dumbstruck. Even the Azure Dragon's sacred ancient and Black White were the same, staring with wide eyes and gaping mouths. His jaw dropped. His jaw dropped. It was completely unexpected. Only the heavenly beast was smiling faintly, looking at Long Fei happily. The golden bell above his head did not ring. This is too unbelievable. Is that starlight a planet, a plane? The clock just chimed 99 times. Then is there 99 planets inside Master's body? The Black and White were all shocked. The sarcophagus was silent. The Azure Dragon's sacred ancient was stunned. He couldn't believe it. Buzz. When the last bit of starlight entered Long Fei's body, his body released a buzzing sound, and then the entire sea of stars slowly disappeared. He slowly disappeared from the sky. Half a minute later, becoming the original Holy Abyss ruins was no different from any other place in the secret world. 99 streams of starlight were also gathering within Long Fei's body, and finally forming a little person model. All kinds of meridians and bones were all contained within the little person made of starlight. Suddenly, with a flash of starlight, a ray of starlight flew into Long Fei's heart. Boom, 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 boom. A series of explosions could be heard, as though an entire plane had crashed into the ground. At the same moment, bang, 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 Long Fei's heart had begun to beat weakly, to the point where it was almost inaudible to beat with a robust and forceful sound. Buzz! Another streak of starlight flashed and entered Long Fei's sea of consciousness. Rumble! A monstrous emotion surged up within his sea of consciousness. In an instant, a ray of light flashed, covering 100,000 miles completely. Long Fei's sea of consciousness instantly expanded by 100,000 times. Rumble! His sea of consciousness galloped for thousands of miles. Right now, forget about the god's holy peakness powerhouse's pressure. Even the pressure of Overlord-level superpowerhouse was like an ant in front of Long Fei's incomparably large sea of consciousness. The ancient devil tree was excited, because within the few seconds after that piece of star field entered Long Fei's heart, his tender bud grew crazily, and in just a few seconds, it had grown to become a towering tree. It was hard to imagine. It had to be known that it took him billions of years to escape from the ancient world and enter the universal realm to become a towering tree from a small tree. However, it had only taken him a few seconds. The spring of life was the same. From the size of a bowl, the spring water turned into a massive, deep pool. The gushing spring water was like the mouth of a deep sea spring. This sudden change was completely unimaginable to them. This was not reconstructing the body. This was condensing the 99 galaxies together to create a super-god-like body. Boom, boom, boom. The starlight unceasingly fused with Long Fei's body. It was constantly superimposing. Long Fei's body was also constantly getting stronger. Moreover, every drop of the starfield's fusion with Long Fei's body increased in size by a bit. After a few minutes, he turned into an incomparably huge giant. Boom, boom, rumble. His sea of consciousness had transformed. His limbs and bones were transforming as well. The blood vein meridians, every part of Long Fei's body was undergoing a metamorphosis. He could clearly hear a series of explosive sounds coming from Long Fei's body, and his body was also unceasingly shooting out 30,000 meters of starlight. In the distance, in the boundary, many disciples from the Fatri sect stood up and looked into the distance as they muttered, "What is that? Was that an immortal cultivating? Were those beams of immortal light?" They were all stunned. Zhou Yuan's pupils constricted slightly. His eyes were also filled with incomparable doubt. Su Su muttered, "Sister Lan Mei, is the immortal undergoing a tribulation?" Lan Mei shook his head. "I don't know, but it looks like an extremely bright light. Maybe there really is an immortal in Secret World." Su Su's eyes revealed admiration and said, "It would be great if I could see the deity again." Lan Mei smiled lightly. Zhou Yuan said indifferently, "Junior Sister Su, this world does not even have any deities, nor do they exist as cultivators that have gone through tribulation. The strongest race in this world is the God's tribe. They are the gods of this world. Becoming a god is the goal of every fighter. Now the chance has come. As long as we can achieve good results in the Battle of Heroes, then we will have the chance to enter the Sky Sect of Ling Clan, and we will have the chance to become the descendant of God's tribe, and enter the countless arrogant shrine to train, becoming a god that billions of people look up to." His eyes were filled with yearning. Becoming a descendant of God's tribe was his lifetime's dream. Xinyuan Li Er said indifferently, "No matter how nice it is to become a god, it's still not as good as being with the person I love. I'm willing to do nothing. As long as I'm together with the person I love, it's enough." Su Su said, "Me too." Lan Mei did not say it, but she secretly thought in her heart, "Me too." Zhou Yuan gently patted Xinyuan Li Er's shoulder and said, "Little sister Li Li, don't worry, I will always be by your side." Xinyuan Li Er's body slowly moved closer to Su Su's side, struggling free from the hand on her shoulder. She looked into the distance, her eyes filled with longing. "Long Fei, where are you?" Zhou Yuan's expression tensed up, and his fists subconsciously tightened under his sleeves, as his patience was slowly wearing thin. Suddenly, one of the disciples said, "Did you sense it? The breath of true spirit is even stronger than before." "It's true. I feel it. It's so dense. It's at least 10 times thicker than before. Wow, there's no need to cultivate it all. The breath of true spirit is constantly in the midst of the pubes. Ah, I just had a breakthrough. I am now a royal realm. This is too amazing." Everyone was incomparably shocked. After the burst of starlight, the breath of true spirit of the entire Holy Abyss ruins underwent a drastic change as the sprouts on the withered trees began to grow crazily, with a speed visible to the naked eye. Those towering trees that were originally withered to the point of death started to regain their vitality. The entire Holy Abyss ruins became exceptionally lively. Lan Mei quickly pulled Su Su and said, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I have to hurry and cultivate." Su Su muttered and said, "If only Big Brother Long Fei was here, he would definitely be able to break through even faster." Lan Mei also muttered, "Yeah, if only he was here." Su Su giggled and said, "If Big Brother Long Fei was here, he would definitely have run over to the 30,000-meter wide starlight to see what exactly is happening." Boom! The last bit of starlight flowed into Long Fei's body. At this moment, Long Fei's eyes suddenly opened wide. His huge body began to return to its original state. Huff! He let out a heavy breath and his body suddenly bounced up into the air. Long Fei scratched his head and saw the stupefied expressions on the faces of the Zinchalong's sword and the old chief. Have I become handsome again? The Zinchalong's sword said softly, Master, your body is emitting a golden light. His body was glowing with a golden light. His body was glowing with a golden light. Just like the boss halo, its entire body was a dazzling golden color. Long Fei was like a Lord of Buddha. It was like a gold mountain under the scorching sun. It was more like a divine treasure that was emitting a divine light. Once the Zinchalong sword said that, Long Fei suddenly noticed. Looking at the light on his body, his eyes became shocked. Damn, I became a boss. Don't tell me I'm going to blow myself up. No reason. Even if I become a boss, I can't kill myself. Right? You can't even see the golden glow on the boss body, right? Long Fei was confused. He looked at the weak heavenly beast and asked, How did I become like this? What just happened? After enduring Zhou Yuan's strike, his consciousness fell into a coma. What happened afterwards didn't affect him at all. Just now, you were in a special star field with over 90 rays of starlight entering your body. Old Chief also said, After that sword attack, your body completely collapsed, but I don't know why you did not die. After the starlight entered your body turned into a giant and turned back into one when you woke up just now. Don't you know what you experienced? Long Fei woodenly shook his head. He had no memory of it. The heavenly beast said weakly, Your current physical body is no longer an ordinary mortal body, but a body of stars. The reason why you can't feel it is because you have yet to grasp its power, but when you grasp its power, you will know what a body of stars is. Thank you. You saved me, and also let me find the direction of the star domain. Thank you, thank you. While they were talking, the heavenly beast became even weaker as its body laid down slowly, as if it could not bear the weight of its body. Long Fei quickly asked, What's wrong? With a smile, the heavenly beast said, I'm fine. I'm going home. I've been in this world for far too long. I also need to go home. The gaze of the heavenly beast turned to the horizon. In the distance, a faint starlight shone, as if it was waiting for the heavenly beasts. Buzz. The star domain golden bell floating above the sky beast's head floated up and landed in front of Long Fei, turning into a mini version of the star domain golden bell. This is the star domain bell. I'm going to head back now. This is my present to you. Remember my words and ring the star domain bell. Someone will come to greet you. Huh. Long Fei received the star domain golden bell and said, All right, if I can enter the stellar sea, I will definitely come and find you. The heavenly beast smiled faintly and said, Actually, I am not some heavenly beast. I am just a small star beast in the sea of stars. This plane is too low, and in the sea of stars, I am just like dust. When someone risked his life to save me, only with this kind of strength can I summon my comrade. It was you who risked your life to save me, allowing me to find a way home. Last, I have to remind you, you are still a great threat in this world. The threat from billions of years ago is not over. It is still continuing. They will awaken once more. You have to take care of yourself. Slowly, the star beast's body quickly shrunk until it was the size of a fist. The ball shone with a golden light like the one on Long Fei's body. A golden light flashed. Whoosh! He flew to the horizon and paused for a moment. Starlight flickered for a moment, as if he was saying, Thank you. The last 2 streaks of starlight disappeared into the void. What's going on? Was it sucked in by a black hole and sent here? The huge threat from billions of years ago still exists? What threat? Are they those archaic giant demons? Long Fei muttered in his heart. In his mind, he thought about the star charts he had seen last time in the seal. Could it be them? The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted and said, I don't care who it is, but if it dares to come. I was just worrying that I don't have any EXP leveling up, so I changed it all into my EXP. The stronger the boss, the stronger it became. The stronger the enemy, the more interesting it would be. Only the boss could go berserk. This was the feeling he wanted. So he's a star beast? Old Chief said softly, looking into the distance. Looks like the legends of Master were all spread randomly. What heavenly beasts are they? The Zinchalong sword frowned and said faintly, Master, the threat he mentioned. Long Fei slightly said, Don't worry, I'll be with you. It was also at this time. Long Fei slapped his thigh and said, I forgot something very important. I forgot to ask him for blood essence. How are we going to go back without its blood essence? Long Fei was dumbstruck. Actually, whether he could go back or not was secondary. The most important thing was his quest. These were 2 quests, and one of them was an SS-grade quest. Time! Long Fei quickly opened up the system to check, and his eyes were startled. Damn. Only 10 minutes left. What should we do? Old Chief was also startled, and said, Sigh, this might be my life. No, this father will never accept his fate. Long Fei let out a heavy cry, and said, There must be a way. What exactly is it? His mind began to spin crazily. However, only the blood essence of a heavenly beast could be exported to the open secret realm, and by now, the heavenly beasts were already more than 1,800,000 miles away, and it was impossible for them to return. Without its blood essence, what should we do? What should we do? Long Fei looked at Old Chief and said, Must you have the blood essence of a heavenly beast? Old Chief nodded his head. And only his blood essence is okay. Suddenly, Long Fei looked to the other side and said, Zhou Yuan, how did he get in? The Holy Abyss Ruins definitely has an exit. However, the Holy Abyss Ruins was incomparably huge, and it was extremely difficult to find Zhou Yuan and the others within 10 minutes. Even if they found Zhou Yuan, they would not let him go out. That sword was meant to kill him. So how could he let him go? Then again, his current cultivation was not a match for Zhou Yuan. If he went there, he would only be sending himself to his death. Is there any other way? Long Fei was extremely anxious. She suddenly thought of something and said, Dragon Sword, you said that there are over 90 rays of starlight entering my body. Each star represents a planet. The Zinchalong sword said uncertainly, It seems like this. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. We can't care so much anymore. Let's just fight to the death. And then, Long Fei condensed a drop of blood essence and said to Old Chief, Let's give it a try. After all, this is my last hope. The blood essence fell. Long Fei opened his idea. Open. Buzz. An astonishing scene appeared, and a time and space door appeared in front of Long Fei, which coincidentally lead to a wind tunnel. Long Fei was startled. Your father's blood can open a time and space door? Your father's blood has leveled up? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.